And welcome to the Play-by-Play Sports Broadcasting Camp Staffcast edition of today's wildcard round playoff matchup between the 7-seed Green Bay Packers and the 2-seed Philadelphia Eagles. This is our pregame show. I'm Dylan Goldman here along with my co-host Liam Janelli. We're here to break it all down for you just as we're about to send it to kickoff in Philadelphia. And Liam, these are two storied franchises, a lot on the line here. You look at the matchup, 2-seed versus 7-seed. Some might think, is it going to be a repeat of this afternoon's Denver-Buffalo game? But we all know last year, the Green Bay Packers were in the same position, went to Dallas, and they took care of business. So how do you assess Green Bay's chances here as a 7-seed coming into Philadelphia, hostile environment today?
Yeah, I think Green Bay is going to do the same motivation they had last year. So everyone's going to doubt them out. They head into Dallas. All the jokes aside, Dallas always loses first round of the playoffs. No one pinned Green Bay as the favorite last year. And it all started with Jordan Love. The guy had a perfect passing rating until a late incompletion later in the game last year in a wild card round. Heading into Philly, again, it's a totally different environment. It feels like a lot of cheeseheads were in Arlington last year, but now heading down to Philly. I reside in Philadelphia, so I see all the Eagles fans in full force today down there. But again, it's going to start with stopping Saquon Barkley. It's just simple as that. Saquon Barkley went for 106 yards and a trifecta in week 1 in Brazil. That game was not played at any of the home fields. It was at a neutral location. We all know the controversy with the slippery grass and stuff. So now all excuses aside there, you're going into a really hostile environment, but you got to set the tone defensively. And what Matt LaFleur likes to do offensively is take the ball right away on the coin toss, see what he does there. But I know they're going to try and pound the rock with Josh Jacobs, which they've done most of the year. But these last 2 games, it kind of seems like he's slowing down. Last year kind of pulled him out of the game. And Jordan Love also got banged up with an elbow injury. So we'll be curious to see how much they really try to air it out today, or they're going to stick to the run.
Yeah, Liam, I think you made a great point there on those last 2 games. Green Bay having a really good season, and then they come in, they lose to Minnesota on the road, and then they lose to the Bears at home, which was shocking to most. So do you think that we're going to be seeing the Green Bay of the last 2 games today, or can Green Bay show more of the team that we saw most of the season?
Yeah, I think a lot of praise goes to Matt LaFleur being this kind of tactician coach, trying to scheme up the big plays for his offense. You see how he uses different players throughout the system. Emmanuel Wilson, Jayden Reed, even Josh Jacobs trying to more evolve from just a running back role into more all-around, also a receiving back. But also the guy is a motivator. He knows how he has to get his team ready to go prior to this game. And also for the Eagles side of the ball, Nick Sirianni, a lot of fans were calling for his head last year in that awful stretch down the season where they've lost 6-7 straight games in a row and an early wild card loss to Tampa Bay. But the guy can coach as well. So if you want to go off coaching instead of talent, then I think Matt LaFleur has the upper edge. He's going to have his Green Bay Packers motivated today in Philly. I would not be surprised if it's a kitchen sink game where they have to show everything on film to get to the next round. And if they do win, they head into the Detroit Lions next week. I don't think they're really putting that on their calendar yet. But also Jalen Hurts coming off a concussion where he missed the last couple games of the year. How concerned can you really be for a guy that's coming off then, had his first week of practice this past week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but also Devontae Smith dealing with the back injury, A.J. Brown dealing with the knee injury as well, kind of on and off, spotty off the injury report this week. So is there a lot of concerns with the Eagles offense? In my opinion, no, because this team is a well-oiled moving machine. They know how everyone has a role and they play into it. And when you have the best O-line in football, not one of the best, the best, the sky is the limit with this offense. I think it's just going to come down to a little more of the X's and O's than it is going to be the talent.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time so far talking about the Packers. I think surely the Eagles coming in at 14-3. Last year the story was they ended the regular season terribly, playoff loss in Tampa, but they come back this year reloaded. They look like a machine, as you said. But what do you think is one area the Packers can kind of exploit a weakness on the Eagles, or what should Packers fans be looking for to say we got to do this in order to beat the Eagles today?
I think you got to rely on the pass. And I think offensively, that's what you got to do. You got to rely on the pass. I know Quinyon Mitchell has been an awesome lockdown corner. He's a rookie. He hasn't played like a rookie at all. It kind of seems like he's been a 4 or 5 year veteran in the NFL, also along with Cooper DeJean in the secondary. But I think that's where kind of the weaknesses have been besides the front 7. It's the back 4. CJ Gardner-Johnson has to keep his motions under control. Reed Blankenship's kind of been more of a safety that plays for the ball than following the guys around the field, which is not a bad trade at all. But if Green Bay, when you look at that receiving core, Dontavian Works, Romeo Doubs, Jayden Reed, nothing really stands out of those guys. But again, it's about the X of those. Can you scheme these guys open, a little play action, crossing route stuff? make the Philly secondary second guess themselves. But the front seven, I think they're going to try and shut down Josh Jacobs, Jalen Carter, who's an all-pro this year, Zach Bond, another all-pro, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham on the edge, Nakobe Dean starting to get into his role there, also Nolan Smith, a bunch of Georgia Bulldogs in that defensive line. But on the other side of the ball defensively, if you really want to make this game interesting, I think you got to send a lot of pressure to Jalen Hurts. I think you have to throw a lot of man coverage out there, make him beat you. And look, I'm not going to go on a rant and say I'm not a big Jalen Hurts fan. I'm a believer because I'm really not. But in these type of scenarios, it's going to come down to the guy throwing the ball who has the most power in his hands. So if I'm Green Bay, I'm trying to air out on offense and send a lot of blitz packages the Eagles' way to see how they adapt.
Yeah, and so we are lucky now to be joined by Benji, who is going to be our sideline reporter today. Benji's got a report on us for both teams. We're bringing in Benji now. Benji, what do you got on this game today?
We'll start off with today's Eagles inactives. Rookie offensive lineman Trevor Geegan was ruled out back on Friday due to an illness. Also ruled out two other O-linemen, Darian Kinnard and Nick Gates. A newcomer that signed this week, safety Lewis Seen, was ruled inactive, as was cornerback Eli Riggs and rookie receiver Ainias Smith. Now, with Ainias Smith being out and the Eagles wide receivers being banged up all week at practice, the Eagles elevated Paris Gamble from the practice squad to give them some more wide receiver depth behind Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Jahan Dotson. Now, moving over to someone who is finally active and out of concussion protocol, quarterback Jalen Hurts, who suffered a concussion 3 weeks ago in Washington and missed both the Week 17 win at home against Dallas, where the Eagles were led by Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee and crushed the Cowboys 41-7, as well as the Week 18 matchup against the Giants, where Tanner McKee and the backups beat the struggling Giants 20-13. Now, moving on to someone during the regular season who was amazing, Saquon Barkley, since coming over from the Giants this offseason, proved why just having a great offensive line in front of you goes a long way, as he had 2,005 rushing yards during the regular season, only needing to have 101 yards to break the single season record. Today's game time temperature is set to be 38 degrees, with it getting colder as the game goes on. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Benji. And so, Liam, I want to, okay, we still got Benji. All right, so let's stick with Benji. So, Benji, what do you think? You talked about the some injuries there, especially for, Jalen Hurts, of course, is the big one. Do you expect him to have any sort of rust, any sort of lingering issues from the concussion, or do you think that he's going to be able to pick up where he left off before his injury?
I think, obviously, he might not pick up exactly where he left off, but I think Jalen Hurts will have a good game, and his concussion, he looked great in practice, so I think he'll have a really good game.
And another question I've got for you, Benji, is this. You mentioned Saquon Barkley. This Eagles team is absolutely loaded. But is there someone on defense you're watching today that could be an X factor as we're watching Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and the Green Bay Packers roll into town? Who on defense are you looking at today?
Yeah, I think Zach Bond has been playing an amazing role, getting sacks, doing man-to-man coverage. He's just been everywhere on that field.
And finally, we got to know, I'll get Liam's eventually, but I got to get yours right now. What's your final score prediction for the game today?
I think the Eagles are winning this one 28-14.
All right, so mark that down. Benji's got Eagles 28-14. We'll get Liam's pick here in a second. Benji, thank you so much for joining us. All right, we're back to Liam now. So Liam, Benji brought up all these injuries. We all know through a long NFL season, the teams are different than when they met at week one, but these teams did indeed meet in week one as long as that seems ago. It was a close game. Philly just pulled it out. So what do you think there was something in that game that we learned that we might see again today that could prove to be a pattern?
Yeah, I want to mention injury report beginning of the year too, because Jael Alexander for the Green Bay Packers, that starting corner, I would say the star corner of the Packers and one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, is not playing today for the Eagles. So I wonder again, the Philadelphia Eagles, a lot of people have tarnished their reputation if they can really pass the ball this season, and they showed you in Week 15 versus Pittsburgh Steelers in that route over their cross-state rival in Pittsburgh that they can pass the ball and they can do it in a good way. And that's a lot of them to Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, who's getting some head coach interest throughout the league. And when you're such a good coordinator and you have the talent there, you're going to gain a lot of other interest from other organizations within the league as well. So I would think that Kellen Moore, again, has to scheme up some big plays or rely on Jalen Hurts. again, Benji didn't seem too worried about his rust from missing 3 weeks as a starting quarterback, but I am a little more worried. Again, but Nick Sirianni did say that there's no plays that aren't going to be limited. It's going to be design run plays. That's going to be QB draw, some tush push if they get to it. That 1 yard line, everyone's favorite. But again, it's how you slow down Saquon Barkley. I think that's something that's going to be a reoccurring theme throughout the game today. Guy had 106 yards and 3 touchdowns in their week 1 encounter, but also 2,000 yards in the season. Could have broke the record in week 18 last week if they decided to play him, but I understand why not. But that's also another interesting point. Green Bay played most of their starters for Chicago because they were playing for seeding and did not want to play Philadelphia round 1. But I think at that point, you got to move past that. But Philly didn't play any of their starters last week. They played the lowly Giants and still beat a team. It seemed like it was a JV versus varsity football game. That just shows you how the depth of the Philadelphia Eagles are. I know they're missing 3 interior O-linemen today in this game. So if someone goes down the front line, could have been Mekhi Becton, who's been kind of plagued with injuries this year, but have always toughed it out. It's going to be really interesting to see if the shuffling of the O-line takes a hit due to the inactives on the Eagles sideline.
Yeah, definitely make some good points there, Liam. And I want to ask your opinion. You talked a lot about Jalen Hurts. I couldn't help but notice on ESPN, Rex Ryan talking about Jalen Hurts and saying, doubting his ability to really make plays from the pocket, really limiting him to saying that he's really, running quarterback. Do you agree with really that assertion? Or do you think that the Eagles really are a multifaceted offense capable not only of just running the ball, but getting the Packers through the air as well?
I try to tune Rex Ryan out sometimes. The guy's vying for the Jets job when they already ruled him out prior to him even saying that. So, but all jokes aside, I have never been a big Jalen Hurts fan. I don't know if it was me being a Giants fan and that's just the bias coming out, but also I've seen stuff where the game goes off the script and he has to improvise, and I haven't seen a lot of hero play from Jalen Hurts. It seems like he's designed from what it is, and if the reads are not there, his first read, second read, the ball's going sailing to the sidelines and the play is dead. That has to go all out the window. Say you have 4 games you got to win if you want to hoist that Lombardi down in New Orleans. It starts today. If you want to be a top 5 quarterback, you get paid like one. It's going to start versus highly motivated Green Bay defense.
Sounds good, Liam. And now we are so lucky and fortunate to bring in our commentators for today's game, Zeke Sprague and Justin Louder. Here they are live. And Zeke and Justin, welcome to the show. Hope you guys are doing well. And let's get your thoughts on today's game. You guys are going to be the one taking away from us. So we'll start with Zeke. Zeke in Philadelphia right now, not at Lincoln Financial Field, but he's close enough.
This doesn't look like Lincoln Financial Field to you, Dylan? I didn't know. This is my special private suite underneath Lincoln Financial Field no one knows about.
Okay, well, I'll take your word for it, Zeke. But, we've talked a lot with Liam today, about the Eagles. A lot of expectations, a lot of pressure, 14-3. They had a great regular season, but now it all comes down to one game as we get into the playoffs. How are you feeling about, the expectations and the Eagles' ability to make a deep run like they did 2 years ago?
All right, well, Justin Rubin says Hurts is overrated. The thing is, every time I think Hurts is driving me crazy as an Eagles fan, I remember that he has the greatest Super Bowl performance in the history of the Super Bowl outside of one play where he fumbled the ball. He literally had the greatest passing performance in the history of the NFL. So he showed that he can be great, but he feel like after that season, after the Super Bowl, he regressed. He hasn't fully came back. Obviously, Saquon will help, but we've seen that this offense is better with him, even with all the points they put up against the Giants last week. They're unable to run the ball as effectively against a good football team without Jalen Hurts in there, so it always helps to have him in there. The Eagles, in my opinion, are better at every position on the field except for safety. So they are the better team. I think they should win today because I'm not the biggest Jordan Love fan either, talking all about Jalen Hurts, but we'll see what happens. And the Eagles should win, but that's why you play the game.
That is indeed why you play the game. And Justin, it seems like there's not a ton of belief in these Green Bay Packers today on this set. Is there something in you thinking that we're all wrong and that the Packers have something that we're not talking about that can get them a road upset?
I mean, I think we've seen things from this Packers offense and defense throughout the season that can certainly make the game competitive. I'm just not sure the Packers have enough on either side of the ball to stop this Philadelphia team at home in the playoffs, especially from some inconsistent performances we've seen, particularly from Jordan Love over this season. Josh Jacobs was a tremendous addition, to a lesser extent, similar to the Barkley addition for Philadelphia. Jacobs would be maybe like a tier lower than that. I I think if the Packers play a really good game on both sides, I think it'll be competitive. But I think it's going to have to be Philadelphia that messes up on their own, maybe shoot themselves in the foot for the Packers to pull off the upset, especially in such a hostile environment.
Sounds good, Justin. And now, we're about to kick off, but I got Benji's pick. We cannot leave without getting everyone on the record in their picks. I'm going to start with Zeke. He seemed quite confident in the hometown Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to get your official pick. Zeke, what is it?
Spread's 5.5. So I'm thinking the Eagles win by 7 or 8. I would say a touchdown win. I don't see any reason why not. Let's go 31-24.
All right,
Eagles.
Justin, what about you?
I actually had, as I was thinking about it, I had Philadelphia 31, but I'm going to say they pull a double-digit victory, and I'll say 31-21.
Liam.
Someone's got to be different here, and that's going to start with me. Everyone keeps doubting Green Bay, and I understand why not, but I'm a big Matt LaFleur believer, and the most dangerous thing you could be doing this postseason is play with house money. When you're playing with nothing to lose, that gives you a lot more motivation. I'm going to take Green Bay 27, Philadelphia 24.
I mean, we've seen the better team win every single game, at least the really good teams like the Ravens and the Buffalo. So those two teams that had nothing to lose lost by a lot. So I guess we'll see if I understand if Green Bay wins, I won't be shocked because it's football, but still.
I'm glad Liam mentioned that. I felt compelled to step in. If everyone picked the Eagles, do everyone in Philadelphia a favor, because I think every time everyone picks the same team, it goes the other way. But Liam took that for me, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens. These two storied NFL franchises going at it at Lincoln Financial Field. Me and Liam have had a great time here on the Staffcast pregame. We'll be back at halftime. But for now, it is my distinct pleasure and honor to send it over to Zeke and Justin for the broadcast, and we'll be back at halftime. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Dylan. I appreciate you able to join us today and host our intermission shows. They did a great job on the pregame show. They'll be back at certain commercial breaks as well as halftime, and we'll obviously join them postgame. We know Liam, as a Giants fan, even though he's a Phillies fan, still bizarre to me that he can be both of those, is rooting against the Eagles. They're starting up with the national anthem here in Philadelphia. As we get started, Justin, it's going to be a great game. I do anticipate it not being a blowout. I don't think the Eagles are going to absolutely blow the doors off of the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are a very good team. They're a very well-balanced team. I just don't know if they have enough talent to keep up with the talented, most maybe deepest roster of the NFL in the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I agree. And again, kind of piggybacking on something I said a couple minutes ago in terms of, the Packers maybe needing to rely on a turnover or something that Philadelphia, some sort of mistake that they make. Speaking of inconsistent, the Packers are also missing Christian Watson as well. Christian Watson was one of the players for this offense that could be a downhill threat. Occasionally he'll get a 30-40 or even longer bomb from Jordan Love. And they do have other receivers that can certainly get it done. But Christian Watson is a little bit unique in that that deep ball ability, you almost kind of expect it once or twice a game. And maybe that passing offense will be a little bit less effective without that threat.
That is possible, but he, like you said, he is very inconsistent. They'll have Mr. Consistency, Romeo Doubs, who seems to be the most consistent wide receiver on their team, starting beside technically Devontae Wicks, but Jaden Reed is the other weapon they have, but he'll spend most of the game in the slot for the Green Bay Packers. But the secondary, though young, has been stellar for the Eagles with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Both rookies this season have stepped up huge after last year, which was a debacle of a defense down the stretch, leading to a blowout loss in last year's wild card round against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Still going underway with the national anthem being played by a saxophonist at Lincoln Financial Field. Two things to keep your eyes on for playoff records for the Eagles in particular. Dallas Goedert needs 4 receptions to be the all-time leader in receptions in the Philadelphia Eagles history of playoffs. And Devontae Smith only needs 61 yards to be the all-time leading receiver in yards in Eagles history, which is bonkers because he's only played
That's
5
crazy.
games. But, I mean, the Eagles have not been the most successful franchise. For those that are younger than us, they might not understand that because the Eagles have played the second most playoff games since the year 2000 of any franchise. But before 2000, much like any other Philadelphia sports team, it was bare pickings for anything successful. And that's why we're the most miserable fan base in all of sports, but also the most passionate. Excuse me. I don't have
it seems like you have to have both
Mm-hmm.
there, especially you appreciate the good, you go through the bad, and lots of those Philly teams, towards the top right now. So
it's as for those that aren't Phillies fans that are Phillies fans that are younger than me, they don't understand. I was watching the documentary that MLB Network did on Mike Schmidt this past week and talked about how they came in existence in 1883, had not won a World Series until 1980 when Mike Schmidt came along and didn't win another one until 2008. So, yeah, it's not – people think we're spoiled Philadelphia fans sometimes, but us being so obnoxious, but there's a reason behind it.
It's the recency bias.
100%.
It exists everywhere.
The Eagles fans have been lucky to be blessed to have the second most played playoff games since the year 2000. But besides that, it's 1 Super Bowl, 2 World Series, haven't won a championship in any of the other sports since 1983. Good news, though, for those in Philadelphia. I think for a majority, I don't think anybody really wanted the arena to be in Center City for the Sixers. That got shot down today as the Sixers and the Comcast Spectacor, who own the Flyers, came to an agreement, and they will be staying in South Philly for this foreseeable future, which everybody is ecstatic about. I think 95% acceptance on that story coming out today for what happened in Philadelphia. But hopefully we're going to be getting to the game here shortly. I have a Pennsylvania lottery commercial going currently, and we'll get to it shortly. Justin and myself are part of the staff at Play by Play Sports Broadcasting Camp. If you're watching either on Instagram or YouTube, we thank you for joining us. If you don't know about Play by Play Sports Broadcasting Camp, look us up at playbyplaycamps.com. Follow us on all the socials at Play by Play Camps. I am a full-time employee with the camp, travel all summer. Justin helps us out traditionally with our Seattle camp. He is a co-owner, franchise owner, I guess you would say, of that Seattle camp. That'll happen late July, but he will also be helping us out in late June in Denver this year. It's the first time ever we'll have 3 camps in 1 week. So again, playbyplaycamps.com. If you have a child between the ages of 10 and 18 who is interested in, who loves sports, loves to talk about them, and possibly interested in doing this as a career, we'd love to have them this summer. How's your family feel about you doing 2 camps this summer, Justin?
It's for those who don't. Most of you don't know. I have 3 kids, 4, 5, and 3. So when I'm gone, it makes it a little tougher. They're actually going to try to coordinate. My wife has some family in Colorado near Denver. And so we're trying to coordinate to see if we can't fly them out. They'll kind of do their own thing while I do the camp. And so that'll make things a little easier because my wife will have a little help. So
she'll enjoy the time in Colorado as well. Very good.
Exactly.
Kickoff just about to get underway. 38 degrees, which for the last week, that's the warmest we've seen all week in the Philadelphia area. As Jake Elliott lets it fly toward the end zone. It is fielded just inside, and it will be returned on the far side by the Packers. Now coming back toward the middle is met at the 27. The ball's on the ground. The Eagles might have recovered an opening kickoff fumble. We will see what happens as the pile clears. They are tussling for it currently. The first
it certainly
play of the
looked
game.
like it. It certainly looked like the Eagles got on it first, but we'll have to wait and see ultimately what the officials say.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of bodies. All the Eagles players are saying they got it. We have a replay here. They'll be able to see it. It's number 42.
Yeah, Oren
Burks with lays the tackle. It did look like the Packers man on the bottom got a hold of it, but then Grugier Jr. came in with his hands as well. What a hit by Burks to level it. It's Grugier Jr. and him were fighting for the ball at the bottom of the pile. It looks like Green Bay from this replay, but I guess we'll see who came out with it at the end of it. I still haven't seen here on the broadcast what occurred. Whose offense is on the field? Oh, it's Jalen Hurts. So Grugier Hill must have had an ability to get his wrestling the ball away from the Green Bay Packers returner.
Really? I mean,
actually, that's number 40. Sorry, that was 54, not 45. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. with the recovery of that fumble, but now we are going to a review, I'm assuming. Sorry, I have the TV muted, so I didn't expect this much confusion to start the broadcast.
Well, and it's really interesting seeing that usually you don't get a lot of camera angles on fumbles that show you anything, but this sky cam angle is really interesting because it actually looks like from the sky cam angle that I didn't see the Packers player there that was returning it, and I've had Nixon.
That's Cassine Nixon. The return man for the Packers fumble. It looks like he initially gets it, and then Jeremiah Trotter Jr. comes in to try to rip it away from it, and that's what he's doing. So I guess at some point in the bottom of that pile, the Eagles did recover it, but from that, it looks like it's a clear recovery, and looks like Nixon will save himself from an opening fumble to give the ball to the Eagles. In my opinion, at least, the Green Bay Packers will hold on to this football.
Yeah, and we just spent the pregame talking about, what it's gonna take, for the Packers to win and playing, not perfect football, but pretty great football. And to have this as a start is horrible. We're split. We're starting.
Wow. The call stands. I don't quite understand how. I clearly saw the Green Bay Packers recover it, and I'm an Eagles fan. We have one, and with that, 34-16 from Donnie, one of our campers, goes to our DC as well as our virtual camp. In fact, he was on the call for the national semifinal game the other night for Texas versus Ohio State. He says 34-16, and that fumble might help them go that direction as Jalen Hurts in the offense steps out with the first play of the game at the 27-yard line. He'll be in the shotgun with the All-Pro. Saquon Barkley right behind him in the gun. Two wide receivers on the near side. Now Devontae Smith motions to the far side. Handoff up the middle. Dancing is Saquon. Moving for the first down. Past the 20, inside the 15. 3 Packers it's going to take to bring him down at the 14-yard line. A double-digit yard run already for Saquon.
Yeah, he's been doing that all season. Fortunately, Xavier McKinney was there on the outside once he got to that third level to stop him. But, yeah, Barkley, chunk play after chunk play. That'll certainly open up the offense.
He's been the best player in football all year long and already puts the Eagles in the red zone after the recovering that initial fumble. He's deep in the backfield again with A.J. Brown, the only wide receiver in the formation on the near side. Calcaterra now in motion, the tight end. Handoff up the middle. Barkley patient. This time not as much space, only a half a yard.
Yeah, it's really going to have to be a battle of, how much can this Green Bay defensive line disrupt what Philadelphia wants to do, not only in the run game, but also get to Jalen Hurts on those passing plays.
So 2nd and 9, we've just started the game. If you're joining us, 13:40 in the first quarter. Score 0-0, but the Eagles are threatening on the 11-yard line at 2nd and 9. Devontae Smith moves from the far side to the near side on my picture. Hurts will drop back for the first time today. Has plenty of time, but no one to throw the ball to. Still waiting. People moving around. It's a scramble drill. Thrown to their back of the end zone. Touchdown! The Eagles get the early lead with a reception to Jahan Dotson, the former commander. 6-0 Eagles.
Yeah, just talked about it the previous play that Green Bay is going to have to find not only a way to stop Saquon, but also get pressure on Jalen Hurts when he's back there. And that would qualify as 0 pressure on Jalen Hurts. Just stood, was able to scan. Your secondary is not going to be able to play defense that long on the receivers. And Philadelphia scores off of that opening turnover by the Packers.
You said it perfectly, and Liam said it in the preview of the game. They have the best offensive line in football, and Jalen Hurts had at least 20 seconds, it felt like, on that drop back, and it was complete scramble drill. And I don't think anybody had the Jahan Dotson first touchdown prop on the day, but that's what we have. And it's 7-0 Eagles, only a minute and a half into the first quarter after an opening kickoff fumble by the Packers.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens here. I mean, we saw earlier in the earlier game with the Bills and the Broncos, this not necessarily the turnover, but Broncos scored on the first possession. 2 pretty big passing plays, the first one to Sutton, the other one to Troy Franklin over the top, and then Buffalo came back and scored, and then it kind of, tailed off a little bit. So, obviously as picture perfect of a start for the Eagles, keep that, fan base happy early, Lincoln Financial, but Green Bay's already putting themselves in a hole that they definitely wanted to try to avoid as long as possible.
Jahan Dotson, an unexpected first receiver of a touchdown, but like we said, the scramble drill, it's kind of whoever's open, and he did the best job. He was in the middle of the field and had the best availability for Jalen Hurts there. Liam Ginelli, if he's available, love to bring him back in since he's the one that talked about how good this offensive line is for the Eagles. If not, that's perfectly fine. He is available, so we'll bring Liam back in real quick. Let's remove. There we go. Liam, how about that offensive line you talked about in the pregame?
Yeah, look how much time Hurts has in the pocket. I think he can play a little Jackson ball in the middle of the play if he wants to. Again, I mean, it's also a lot of credit to the Eagles receivers for keeping the play alive, moving around, not getting stuck in the mud and sticking in the route. But anyone in the bingo card have Jahan Dotson first-time touchdown? Definitely not me. But also, Justin made a good point in the sky cam. It was clearly Green Bay's ball on that recovery off the kickoff, and it stuck with Philly. So Green Bay already put themselves in a big deficit here, and going to see if they're going to come out and try and win the time of possession down, make sure Philly doesn't get the ball back too quick.
Yeah, I'm not a rules expert, Liam, but even as an Eagles fan, that was clearly recovered by the returner of the Green Bay Packers. So I don't quite understand what happened there.
Well, if you want to be a hard-nosed coach saying don't fumble, this wouldn't have happened. So
yeah, that's true.
It's an easy way to say that. But also, you guys were ahead of me, so if you want me to come back, you just text me.
Okay, no problem, Liam. We'll do. All right, gracias, sir. We always appreciate Liam's input when it comes to football. He is a football coach himself for high school football, as well as does our camps as a counselor and does some color commentary for Temple football. Not the greatest, most prestigious college football team ever, but hey, Al Golden is going to national title as a defensive coordinator, the former Temple Owls coach, now at Notre Dame. So Elliott's second kickoff of the game already, only a minute and a half in, is fielded at the 1. Let's see if they can hold on to this one. Similar path to the run from the far side, now to the near side. Has some running room out to the 24, but what a tackle by Kenneth Gainwell. I didn't even know he played special teams for the Eagles. The backup running back makes a tackle at the 24-yard line with a flag down on the field.
Yeah, it looked like at the top of the screen, at least from my vision, it looked like there might be a holding on top. I didn't catch the number or the name of the guy who did it, but it looked like there might be a possible hold there.
Brad Allen's first time calling a penalty today. We'll see what he has for us.
Could you just imagine if this kickoff and that replay happened in a Chiefs game?
The whole entire country would say it's rigged. It's rigged. I'm
already the narrative.
I have my shirt on. That was not recovered by the Eagles. But this is a holding. You were correct. So the tackle by Kenneth Gainwell will just make them go back even further. 10 yards back to the 14-yard line is where the Green Bay Packers will start their first offensive drive of the game, already down 7-0 with 13-13 remaining here in the first quarter. So from that 14, shotgun for Love, has 3 wide receivers, his tight end in motion. The Eagles look to be bringing Bond off the edge on the near side. Now the snap back to Love, dropping, looking over the middle, throws it deep. It is almost intercepted by Gardner Johnson. It was in and out of the hands of Wicks before him, and it'll be 2nd and 10.
Yeah, this is kind of the situation where you just have to make sure that you remain as calm as possible, and that would have been absolutely devastating. Fortunately for the Packers, it did fall harmlessly to the turf, but A little bit of a shaky first play there for Green Bay and Jordan Love.
Yeah, Jordan Love needs to get his nerves under control as he is back in shotgun with 3 wide. Has a man in motion behind him. Fakes the jet sweep off over the middle instead of Jacobs, who goes forward for 2. Met by number 3, Nolan Smith on the tackle. Brings up 3rd and 8. The Packers cannot afford a 3-and-out on their first drive.
Especially since that penalty knocked him back inside, the Eagles' red zone. Talk about field position here. A lot of pressure here to get this first down.
And it'll be shotgun all by himself this time for Jordan Love. 3 wide receivers. Josh Jacobs in the near slot out of the backfield. Surveying the defense with 5 on the play clock. Dropping back after receiving the snap. It's met in the backfield by Jalen Carter, but does escape him. Now he throws down the far side to absolutely no one. And it's incomplete. So it will be a 3-and-out and a punt coming from the Packers. If the Eagles could score on this drive and go up early 2 scores, it could be a long day for the Cheeseheads.
Well, and basically the opposite pressure on that play than we saw on the last drive with the Packers. The Eagles only brought 3, and they were able to get to Love and flush him out of the pocket, and he just had to throw it away long where there was no chance of an interception.
Milton Williams has been doing a phenomenal job this year with Jalen Carter being doubled pretty much every play, and he did another great job getting pressure on Jordan Love there. The punt coming from the Packers is away. Standing at the 35-yard line and catching is Cooper DeJean, who did not make a fair catch and was tackled right at the 35. It was pretty lackadaisical for not calling for a fair catch.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. And usually, I almost kind of expect, usually you see more fair catches. They err on the side of caution. So whenever I see anyone get hit like that right away, I'm always like, where's the flag? Where's the flag? But yeah, he didn't call the fair catch. So didn't fumble it though. So they'll keep possession.
Yep, held on to it. And it'll be Eagles ball with a chance to go up 2 scores incredibly early in this game. For those who might just be joining us, the Eagles were said to recover a fumble on the opening kickoff. The replay made it look like the Packers clearly recovered the ball, but the officials did not agree. The Eagles were able to go on a 4-play drive to put it in the end zone on what was all day to throw for Jalen Hurts. We'll see if that changes on this next drive, if Green Bay can get any sort of pressure on him. And then the Eagles forced a 3-and-out where the Packers only gained 2 yards on a Josh Jacobs run. So far, not much for the Packers. As we said, the 2 much better teams so far this week, the Bills and the Ravens, have won by a lot and pretty easily. The Eagles, if they are that good of a team, we'll see if they do it again. These 2 teams did meet all the way back in week 1 on a whole nother continent, Justin, down in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It was crazy to think that that's how the Eagles and Green Bay Packers season started. It seems like forever ago.
Yeah, true.
When the Eagles fans especially were incredibly unsure about their defense. Well, because of Zach Bond and some rookies and Jalen Carter still being a physical freak, it has not lent itself to any doubt at all for the Eagles.
Well, and Jalen Carter kind of had some off the field issues that kind of allowed him to slip in that draft. And what a steal for Philadelphia to get him, because as you said, he is constantly facing double teams from the opposing offensive lines. And just like he did there, did a great job shedding both blockers and trying to get upfield to get the quarterback.
Not only that, there were some games this year where Jalen Carter played every single defensive snap. That doesn't happen in the NFL, especially on the defensive line. So he has been worth his weight in gold so far in the first 2 seasons as an Eagle. And a big part of that is Jordan Davis, his BFF from college, kind of mentoring him along the way and making sure that he is staying on his work ethic and being as good as he can be. The Eagles will get the ball back here at the 35-yard line in the shotgun with Devontae Smith moving in motion to the near side. Handoff. Again, it's Saquon. Patient running and 3 yards forward. He'll make it 2nd and 7.
Yeah, good job there by Kenny Clark and Quay Walker coming together to stifle that. Again, Barkley, one of the more patient running backs in the league, will wait for that hole to open up, hit that hole. But again, for the Packers' perspective, fortunate there to only gain a couple yards.
Dropping back, thrown to A.J. Brown, this time on the near side. What a catch. On his knees, being tackled kind of as he was receiving it. A.J. Brown stuck his hands out there and just brought it right in. First down, Eagles.
Yeah, again, talk about Saquon Barkley being the best in the league this year. A.J. Brown seemed, with all that talent, a little bit overlooked based on the season's performance, but he can make those catches.
Quickly to the line, the Eagles will go 2 yards forward on a Saquon Barkley run up the middle. On first down, will make it 2nd and 8. A.J. Brown was hurt for the first 3 of the first 4 weeks of the season, so that might have put a little damper on after last year. He was the offensive story for the Eagles for most of the season. And Hurts, as most of the time, will line up in shotgun. A.J. Brown in this one is on the far side by himself. Saquon to the right of Jalen this time. Dropping back, Hurts is looking to the near side. Has plenty of time again throwing. It is caught by Calcaterra. His feet are in bounds. Only a 5-yard gain will bring up 3rd and 4 for the Eagles.
Calcaterra has been doing a pretty good job for this Eagle offense in kind of just a role that they need, kind of as a safety valve for Jalen Hurts. We'll be calling his name a few more times, I can imagine.
And he was huge when Dallas Goedert went out with injury multiple times this season. But a big 3rd and 4 here for the Packers, especially. 4 wide receivers for the Eagles. It's Calcaterra in the slot on the far side. Actually, that's Saquon Barkley, who's now in motion to the far side. On a swing pass, he receives it with some blocking in front of him, makes one man not miss. What a tackle by number 20, Javon Bullard. The safety came up and wrapped up the ankles of Saquon Barkley, forcing a 3-and-out for the Eagles. Not many people make that kind of tackle.
Absolutely, and especially since that was a 3rd down and it's going to force the Eagles to punt. That was exactly what this Packers team needed to maybe shift a little bit of that early momentum back to them.
I'm surprised the Eagles didn't go for it. They were on the Green Bay 48 in that position. But Braden Mann will come in to punt for the first time this afternoon. 9:27 on the clock, 7-0 Eagles here early. And they will punt it away and try to pin them inside the 20-yard line. It bounces on the 5 into the end zone, so that was not a useless punt, but kind of a useless punt for the Eagles because it will not gain them much field position, and the Packers will get a second chance on offense with 9:13 remaining in the first quarter.
Yeah, again, Packers pretty ineffective on their first offensive possession, only netting a couple of yards and an almost interception for Jordan Love on his first play. They'll start a little bit maybe without the pressure of their own end zone behind them, get a little more space. But, yeah, again, the Packers defense doing exactly what they needed to do, making a really good tackle. Javon Bullard made a really good tackle on Saquon Barkley. And this Packers offense will look to kind of build something here offensively against this really staunch Eagles defense coming in.
Yeah, we'll see what the Eagles can do here. That honestly might have taken a lot of wind out of the sails because if the Packers let the Eagles go down and score there, this game is all sorts of momentum. Would remind us of the NFC title game when the Eagles played the Minnesota Vikings and got off to an incredibly hot start. Many, many moons ago. What's that, 7 years ago at this point? But we'll see what happens when we come back from commercial. It'll be Jordan Love's second chance. The first time he had almost a ball that was almost picked off as he overthrew his receiver, but it was just out of the reach of CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, kind of going back to that opening kickoff. This is kind of one of those times I really wish that I had the sound on because I'm sure Brad Allen came on and said that the play stands. Looking at that replay, I don't remember who the Fox rules analyst is. but I didn't see that they joined. And I would really be interested to see what the explanation was of why that might have been not overturned to the Packers, because I kind of saw the same as you did, Zeke, that it really looked like that Nixon recovered his own fumble and had fairly clear possession of it.
Yeah, I think that's what we've all said. On the next commercial break, we'll bring Dylan and Liam back in, let them talk a little bit. But we are about to go back to action here in Philadelphia. Matt LaFleur has made the playoffs 5 out of 6 seasons as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Has had some good runs, and he has his team here back in the playoffs against the Eagles for the second time this season. Josh Jacobs motions in the backfield for the first play. Goes up the middle, is met almost immediately, does fall forward for about 1.5 yards. Will bring up 2nd and 8.
Yeah, and I think Jacobs is going to be key to this Packer offense to allow them to throw the ball, at least to make the defense kind of respect the fact that they can do both. Again, super early. That was only the 4th offensive play. Looks like there's a Packer player shaken up.
Yeah, down on the field here.
I believe that is Elgton Jenkins, number 74.
Well, if he has to come out, there's only one backup interior lineman that is listed on the 2 deep for the Packers, and that's Jacob Monk, who will have to come in for at least one play. He's considered the backup left guard, right guard, and center. And the arm of number 74, Elgton Jenkins, does not look particularly good right now.
No, it looked like on that replay that the initial contact was with Darius Slay and took a helmet right in the shoulder. So, we'll see if maybe that possibly might be a dislocation, possibly. But, for the Packers' sake, they don't have a lot of linemen that they can filter through here. So they'll hope that he can get back in there as soon as he can.
So it will be 2nd and 8 after the injury timeout. 2 wide receivers to the near side, 1 to the far side with Jacobs to the right of Love in the backfield. Now motion to the far side. Goes Dontavian Wicks throwing over the middle. It is caught by Mr. Consistency Romeo Doubs for about 7 yards right in front of the rookie Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, those are the types of throws to get Jordan Love comfortable. And, I think we'll see more of those as needed. But again, 3rd and 2 coming up here. It's a big point here for the Packers to get something going from their last possession where it was a 3 and out.
It will be 3rd and 2. Jayden Reed from one slot to the other. He comes to the near side. Love will be in shotgun. Only needs 2 yards here on 3rd down to get to the 30-yard line. A quick out route caught, and it is a 1st down and 5 yards more to the tight end, Tucker Kraft. The first down of the game for the Green Bay Packers with 8 minutes on the clock in the first quarter, down 7-0 in Philadelphia.
Yeah, we talked about Calcaterra on the last possession coming up with a reception. Tucker Kraft, he might be one of those that Jordan Love looks to fairly frequently because he's had some games where they've had to rely on him to keep that offense moving. And again, really good reception and lots of space, and Jordan Love put it exactly where he needed to move the sticks.
Showing a lot of motion by Jayden Reed early. He does it again this time, but it's a handoff off the far side tackle, and 4 yards forward for Josh Jacobs will make it 2nd and 6. They're going to consistently run the football. They've shown that all year long, even against a stellar run defense that the Philadelphia Eagles are. Anticipate more of that coming from the Green Bay Packers. They have 2nd and 6 on their own 42-yard line, trying to get into Eagles territory for the first time this afternoon. 7 minutes coming off the clock in the first quarter, down 7. For the first time today, I think I've seen Jordan Love under center, and it is a pitch to the near side for Josh Jacobs. He's met in the backfield, but he shrugs off the tackle and finds a way to fall forward for 2. Nakobe Dean, the man that finally is able to bring him down. And it'll be 3rd and about 4 for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, it looked like I had Jacob Monk also. It looks like the camera's been closing in on Travis Glover, which was, again, one of the only few offensive linemen that they could possibly put in for that situation. And so he's going to have to step in until we get any sort of word on Jenkins.
So it is the 3rd and 3 with a shotgun. Dropping back is Love, looking to the far side. He's under pressure. Met in the backfield, brought down at the 31-yard line. It is a sack for number 3, Nolan Smith, the outside linebacker. Ends any hope of a good drive for the Packers. It'll be punted away for the second time for Green Bay.
Yeah, Zach Tom, that right tackle for the Packers, just got absolutely demolished up front and lost his balance on that inside move. There was no chance that Jordan Love was going to escape that. Really nice move there from the defender.
The linebackers were probably the largest question mark heading into the season for the Eagles, but Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, and obviously Zach Bond have stepped up huge for the Philadelphia Eagles. This time, it is not a fair catch for DeJean. He fields it at the 19, makes it out on the near side to the 30, met there by 2 Green Bay covermen, and it is brought down. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the 3rd drive of the game for the Eagles at the 30-yard line. Nolan Smith Jr. stopping any hope the Packers had of tying this game up, at least at this moment. 5:19 remaining in the first quarter, 7-0 the home team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's bring on, Dylan knew that I was bringing him on again. Liam, I'm not so sure about, but because there he is. There's Liam. So how are we feeling so far, guys, about what has occurred? We already heard from Liam once. Dylan, what do you think of this game so far?
Yeah, I mean, it was a disastrous start for Green Bay. It's very unfortunate, very controversial call, even as Zeke admitted, which when that is really controversial. They had a chance there. They were starting to mount a decent drive. And that Eagles defense that we talked about, all those Georgia players, one of them, Nolan Smith, coming on big. I'm very interested to see what happens in this drive because, the first drive, the Eagles definitely got the benefit of field position. I'll be very interested to see, can they mount a full, 60, 65-yard drive? I think that will tell us if this game is going to get out of reach or if the Packers can hang in.
What do you think about this offense, Liam? Like, the second drive just kind of stalled out of nowhere. Do you think it was a rhythm thing, or is just? I mean, the Eagles have had first quarter troubles all season long, so it's just kind of a growth thing, learning this defense of Green Bay again.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't like the RPO call on 3rd down there and a screen pass to Saquon Barkley. You're asking Devontae Smith. I'm not saying the best blocker in the world, but also a wrist injury and back injury nagging him as well. As your lead blocker, just doesn't seem schematically the best idea to do. I think you got to get Saquon running with the ball. I give Vic Fangio a lot of props for his defense, letting play happen and making Green Bay throw a lot of underneath routes, in routes, slant routes too, to disrupt that offense Jordan Love wants to establish.
Yeah, most definitely. Like you said, sometimes even though he's only like 120 pounds soaking wet, Devontae Smith is a heck of a blocker on the outside, but he has those injuries that are going to make it a little more difficult for him to do right now. But anything that's surprised you from the Green Bay offense so far?
I'm not getting Josh Jacobs going, but we mentioned that in our pregame, Dylan and I, that it's going to be hard to get this front seven to really open up the gap because they're really stacking the box. They're trying to make Jordan Love pass it, and the guy that was great last year passing the ball kind of seemed like he's taking a step back in that department. So it's going to be interesting to see if they really devote their run and put some more jumbo sets out there.
All right, thank you both for joining us. We're going to head back to action here shortly as they're just showing a replay of the touchdown pass that occurred earlier to Jahan Dotson. As the Eagles come out for their 3rd drive of the game already. 5:19 in the first quarter remaining. 7-0 the Eagles. It'll be 2 wide receivers to the far side. A.J. Brown in the slot here on the near side. He now moves to the outside. Is a handoff to the near side. It is Saquon Barkley getting a first down plus more. Breaks to the inside. Close to midfield. Is brought down at the 48-yard line. Another double-digit yard run by the best running back. No, the best football player in the NFL. I'm a little biased, but if you don't think that this year, I don't know who you think would be number 1.
Yeah, I mean, already he's 5 for 38 in the game and on the back of 2 larger runs here. But again, just the vision that he has is the reason why, I mean, cut all the way down to the near sideline, then gets tackled towards the middle of the field, just trying to get more yards. And that's kind of the mentality he has at that running back position. And, you have an argument for the best player in the NFL.
In the shotgun, it's Jalen Hurts with a delayed fake handoff, goes around the outside himself. He's going to get a first down on a run. We know Jalen can run, but with a concussion, we're worried about it a little bit, but he slides after about a 15, 16-yard gain for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and again, you have Saquon that can get going real quick. Any sort of fake to him, whether it's the read option or just the play action in their typical passing offense, is all going to help make this Eagles offense more effective, and especially for those big plays.
Jahan Dotson in motion to the near side. It's another handoff to Saquon. He's coming that direction. He goes 3-4 yards out to the 24-yard line, brought down on that one. Pretty good tackle by number 33, Evan Williams, the safety for Green Bay.
And this is kind of the area of the field. Philadelphia is a little bit closer to scoring than they were last time. But this is the area of the field where the Packers defense needs to just kind of be a little bit, stand up a little bit more to this Philadelphia offense and perhaps force a field goal attempt.
What's up, Chris? Good to see you, bud. I didn't get to see this past summer, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know if I'm going to see this summer either, but it's good to hear from you. The man that is obsessed with Charlotte sports, unfortunately. Fakes the handoff on this one. Is Jalen Hurts out to Goddard, his first reception of the day. He goes 4 yards forward to the 31-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 3 for the Eagles to see if they can get another first down and move further into Packers territory.
And again, another third down for this Packers defense. They got to come through. They cannot let this lead extend by more than 3 points on this drive, because 14 points early is going to force them to maybe do things a little differently than they normally would.
So Jalen checking the defense after the fake snap call, has 3 wide receivers all the far side. Hands it off to Kenneth Gainwell up the middle. He's got a first down, +2 to the 26. The man that made a heck of a tackle on special teams earlier comes in on this third down. He's usually the third down back on a majority of the plays. Will gain a first down and move the chains for the Eagles closer to the red zone. 7-0. 2:17 coming off the clock in the first quarter. As most of the time, we see Hurts in the shotgun behind the best offensive line in football. He has 2 receivers bunched to the far side. It's a handoff again up the middle to Kenneth Gainwell, who gains 2.5. Will set up 2nd and 8.
Yeah, it looks like Saquon Barkley will jog back onto the field here to finish off this drive. But yeah, they can, Gainwell has been pretty effective for the, role that he's in, which allows Saquon to get the rest that he needs to be as effective as he is.
Stat just popped up on the line on the TV in front of me here. The Eagles offensive line have averaged 2 yards a rush. Maybe it's because of the patience rushing of Saquon. The highest in the NFL before contact. The average, almost a whole yard below that at 1.1. This time, Hurts is under center on a rare occasion. Drops straight back, looking to the near side. Has his man. It's Devontae Smith for 11 yards and another first down. Inside the red zone go the Birds for the second time today at the 19-yard line.
Yep, the drive started with 2 long runs, one by Barkley, one by Hurts. And then right here, they're just taking what they get offensively through the air, and they're finding themselves inside the 15-yard line with an excellent opportunity to punch it into the end zone again.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do play-by-play for yard lines off the monitor is what I've figured out over the years. In person is a lot easier to see that. Back in the shotgun where he normally is goes Jalen, 3 wide receivers, 2 to the near side, and Grant Calcaterra out in the slot on the far side. Fakes the handoff to Saquon. Under pressure, immediately has to get it away. A very good blitz that time by the Green Bay Packers. First time Jalen has had any pressure in his face.
And also Hurts' first incompletion of the game as well. And so you talked about the necessary pressure that this Packers defense needs. Bringing blitzes are great. But they got to be able to do it on a consistent basis without having to send a couple extra guys.
As you said, his first incompletion. Jalen Hurts 6 for 7 for 39 yards and the touchdown to start the game. It'll be 2nd and 10 at the 14-yard line for the Birds. 2 wide receivers this time to the far side with now Devontae Smith joining them in motion. Dropping backs. Hurts looking over the middle. Has nothing there. Now have to escape to the far side. Moving. Throwing. Out of the back of the end zone and just thrown away to survive to a 3rd and 10. Good coverage downfield that time by the Packers.
Yeah, and again, talking about that pressure and that pass, I mean, at least the pass was clearly thrown away. The closest receiver there was Jahan Dotson, and I'd be kind of curious to see how many targets he had in any single game, because it feels like he's been the most targeted receiver so far today.
Yeah, I think that's his third target already, and we'll set up 3rd and 10 for the Eagles. The Packers surviving with a field goal would be huge for them. All 3 wide receivers on the far side of the field. Grant Calcaterra on the near side. Barkley on the left side of Hurts in the backfield. Hurts dropping back under pressure. Another blitz up the middle, and it is incomplete. It'll bring out Jake Elliott for a short field goal. But this year is not as been consistent for Jake Elliott as he has been in the past. But he'll have an easy 31-yard field goal to attempt here.
Yeah, Edgerrin Cooper did a good job, again, getting that pressure. And this is honestly, despite the result of the field goal, this is a win for that Packers defense, because they did not look that good until they got inside the 15, where it's kind of that bend, don't break mentality.
So Elliott will be from 31 yards on the near hash mark, up and good, and through 10-0 Eagles with 19 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. The offense of the Packers really hasn't produced anything. They'll get their their next opportunity and the first drive of the second quarter probably after we come back from break. 10-0 Eagles in Philadelphia. Nothing spectacular yet. A good job of bending, not breaking on that drive by the Packers D. And even though it's 10-0 and the Packers haven't done much, feel a little uneasy, but I've had that feeling a lot as an Eagles fan when it comes to early part of the game, and then the second half it seems like they just blow it away. We have another CT Sports says 17-14 Eagles. That would be a incredibly low scoring game for what has occurred so far. The Eagles usually don't score first quarter points. They have 10 already. If they only score 7 points the rest of this game, something went majorly wrong. And we'll see what happens as Jake Elliott will kick off for the third time already today. The opening kickoff after the touchdown only a minute and a half later. And then after the field goal here.
And I had to look it up. Aside from the Giants game in the last week where they arrested people, Jahan Dotson's largest target volume per game was all the way back on September 29th, where he got 4.
All right, Kasim Nixon receives this one on the far side again. Seems to be a consistent thing. He'll break back to the inside, get out to the 25-yard line. A decent return by Kasim, but obviously anything's better than what happened on his first return where he fumbled the ball. But it's been consistent. It seems like that's just the strategy where Jake Elliott has been kicking that to what would be his right side and trying to contain Kasim Nixon on that side of the field. They've done a decent job of it so far. Has the Eagles special team. They just show Brandon Graham, who unfortunately is out for the rest of this playoff run, the longest tenured Eagle ever. The first play is a shotgun handoff to Josh Jacobs, who is met at the line again and pushes his way forward to 3. I feel like that's been every run so far. He's been met at the line of scrimmage every single time, but has churned enough for 2 or 3 yards on every single run.
When you mentioned that stat they showed on the TV broadcast with 2 yards past the line of scrimmage before Saquon's even contacted, that's the opposite of what we're seeing here. Josh Jacobs has been contacted at the line of scrimmage or behind it every single time he's attempted a rush so far in the game.
And that's the end of the first quarter in Philadelphia. 10-0 Eagles. We're an hour into this wonderful broadcast since it's a quarter break. If Dylan and Liam want to come back on, they're more than welcome to. If they want to just relax and watch the game, they can do that as well. It's up to them. But we have a 10-0 game. I guess Liam's back because I can hear him. And there's Dylan as well. So there we go. Welcome back, gentlemen. 1 quarter in the books. Thank you for joining us on Play by Play Camp's Instagram, Student Sports Network's Instagram, and YouTube. What is the most important thing the Packers need to do on this next drive to start the second quarter, Dylan?
It seems like you just made a good point about Josh Jacobs. It's like everything is very difficult, very arduous. He's doing a good job churning out some yards, but it seems like everything takes extra effort right now. But to me, their identity is running the ball. I think Josh Jacobs has to get his carries. He has to get his work. And you have to start trying to wear down the Eagles defense. But at the same time, that Jordan Love we talked about in the pregame show that went to Dallas last year and annihilated the Cowboys also has to show up, right? The Packers need to show some, not just be one-dimensional. But to me, they also can't get too far away from their identity. So it's kind of tough right now. But to me, they got to keep sticking with running the ball. But we're going to have to see Jordan Love make some big throws, especially on third down, if they want to have a chance in this game.
Arduous. We bring Dylan for the big words. We bring Liam for his football knowledge. Liam, anything that Jalen Hurts has done to make you believe that this game is going to be something special for him so far, or has it just kind of been mediocre at best?
Well, I was talking to myself earlier. I was like, if I'm Green Bay, I'm just going to keep sending blitzes and make sure they're not picking up with the read option to make Hurts look like he can run the ball. And right when I said that, he got that 19-yard scramble. It looks healthy as it can be. But again, if you keep sending blitz packages, you can't keep sending receivers down the field. You can open up in the screen game. And going off Dylan's point, you got to end up with points this possession if you're Green Bay. Maybe switch up with some play actions on first down and such, because that's the first play is going to be an inside run or design run for Jacobs or Wilson.
Well, we saw those two blitzes on second and third down in that last set of downs for the Eagles. The Packers able to stop them right there and get the field goal. So good call by Liam. That's why we bring you around, like I said, for your football knowledge. We appreciate it. All right. So back in action, 2nd and 7 at the 32-yard line for the Packers. Love dropping back, throwing to the far side, deep, has a man, one-on-one coverage is picked off. It's big play Slay with an interception. Ball slightly underthrown, and it'll go the other way. The Eagles with a second turnover already, just 8 seconds into the second quarter.
That is the antithesis of what Liam just said about, needing points and, talking about, you have to, Josh Jacobs has to get his carries. Agree with what Dylan said there. But we've seen this from Jordan Love this year, where it's been kind of this inconsistent play. There's been some times where he's looked really great, and there's been other times where he hasn't looked as good. And frankly, the same argument can be made with C.J. Stroud's performance this year. Two quarterbacks that are often pitted against each other when we're talking about, who would you rather have? And that throw, like you said, was just barely underthrown, but it happened to be underthrown to the side that Slay was defending him on. And a great play by him to get Philadelphia the ball back.
The Eagles get the ball at their own 22. It was a deep pass. It's a 3-yard run on the far side off of Jordan Mailata's side that gives 3 more yards to start the game for Saquon Barkley. But yeah, the Eagles defense stepping up there on what initially looked like Slay had been beat by a step and a half, but Dontavian Wicks had to come back to the ball and was not able to get to it. We go to 2nd and 7 at the 25. Shotgun again for Hurts. All the receivers to the near side, but now Smith goes to the far side. It's a blitz off this near side. It's a flag down. Now Jalen Hurts scrambling up the middle, is past the 30 to 35, dives forward to that 35-yard line, and it'll be a first down pending the flag for the Eagles.
Yeah, so far the Packers defense looks the most effective when they are bringing extra guys. That one it made Jalen Hurts, uncomfortable, and he was able to get a good game, but I'm sure this is going to come back.
Yep, I didn't hear the call on the broadcast, Justin. Illegal motion by Devonta Smith that he was not set when the snap was happening, but Nick Sirianni does not look happy about that penalty call.
Yeah, he did not.
I'm thinking that maybe he thinks it was wrong. So it'll back the Eagles back up to 2nd and 12 on a 5-yard penalty on Devonta Smith. 10-0, 13:50 remaining in the first half. And Saquon and this offense will see if they can move forward here from the 20-yard line as they need to get to the 32 now for a first down. Dropping back. Has time, but now he's running to the far side. He'll get the ball out to Goddard, who is not able to corral that. Hits the ground, And it'll be incomplete. 3rd and 12. So that penalty might cost the Eagles another good drive as they have a 3rd and long here.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the Packers, again, we're not sure what's going to happen. It's still 3rd down, but the Packers have to be opportunistic here, just as the Eagles have been, to get a stop here and get the ball back. But the offense has to do some work for Green Bay if they're going to be competitive in the game.
3rd and 12. Calcaterra motions into the slot. Shotgun handoff on 3rd and 12. Saquon up the middle, has some room, but not enough to get the first down. Will go out to the 28. And I always hate that call. You're not even trying. It drives me absolutely bonkers. Like, I know you have the best football player in all of sports, but like, I don't get it. Why do teams do that? It's just like saying, all right, we're going to punt the ball unless we get a great blocking situation to happen.
Well, I thought that should have been the call on the 2nd down after the penalty, and give it to Saquon. He's been effective pretty much for the entire game, at least get 3 or 4 yards, which he's done almost every play that he's given the ball. That makes the 3rd down a little more manageable. But yeah, I agree with you. On the 3rd and longs, when you hand it off, you're basically telling him we're going to punt.
Well, they go to punt, but it's a false start on the Eagles, so they'll move back 5 yards, and Braden Mann will have to kick it away again. And like I said, it just feels, and this has been kind of the MO for the Eagles. It feels like the first half, they let teams stick around and they blow them out in the second half. So obviously, as an Eagles fan, I hope that happens. But we're just looking for a good game here on the Student Sports Network. We appreciate you, any of you joining us on YouTube or Instagram. Now Braden Mann gets to kick the ball away. It is fielded back at the 25-yard line. Now to the far side goes to the 30. To the 35 with running room on the sideline, met by Braden Mann at the 40-yard line. So a good return that time by number 11, Jaden Reed, the explosive slot receiver that didn't have as big a year as people were hoping, but has had his moments for the Green Bay Packers and won there with a return.
I was going to say the last break we ran out of time there, but you had asked, I think it was Liam, kind of what this offense needs to do. And one of the things that popped into my mind was they got to figure out how to get Jaden Reed the ball. And this has been a struggle all year long. He's had some games where he'll, have 5 or 6 receptions for a couple of touchdowns. And then he'll have, 2 or 3 games in a row where, he's, 2 catches for 14 yards. And he even went 0 receptions in a game towards the end of the season. So, he obviously has a lot of talent, has the speed. Their offense just can't seem to get him involved, whereas they've found opportunities and avenues to get players like Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks involved, and even Tucker Kraft into this passing game. Seems to be a little bit of a disconnect there, and not sure that's, if they've been struggling with it all season, I'm not sure that's something they can fix in the postseason.
We will see as we are at break after the punt. 12:42 remaining in the first half. 10-0 Eagles, a big part because of turnovers so far in this first half. A fumble recovery on a kickoff as well as an interception for Slay that didn't actually result in anything as the Eagles just punted that drive away. And another State Farm commercial.
Well,
yeah. So but the Eagles will, the Green Bay Packers will start with good field position at their own 46-yard line, could possibly get into Eagles territory for the first time today with just a few yards here when we come back from commercial.
And we've been talking about kind of the high expectations for the Eagles, really on both sides of the ball, because they do have great, if not elite, offense and defensive abilities. But the Packers defense in this season, is nothing to be scoffed at. They ranked 6th in the NFL in points per game, 7th in sacks, 3rd in interceptions, 7th against in rushing yards per game. So, while we talk about Philadelphia and they certainly on paper are more talented, this Packer defense has performed over the course of the season. And I think other than that first drive, they're starting to show it a little bit more.
They are, but now it's the Eagles defense who brings a blitz. Run off the near side. This time, Jacobs wasn't met until 1 yard forward, but all he gets is 2. So it'll be 2nd down at the 45-yard line. 2nd and 8. 12:30 coming off the clock here in the second quarter. The Eagles up 10-0. Green Bay trying to get on the board for the first time, has great field position to start this drive. You were just talking about it. Jaden Reed doesn't have a single target yet today, but Jordan Love is only 2 for 5. He's only thrown the ball 5 times, and one of those was his last pass, which was intercepted. Reed is in motion. See if they can get him open here. Love seems to be looking that way. Exactly on cue, they target him for a first down into Eagles territory for the first time. Jayden Reed with a 9-yard gain to the other 45 for the first time in Philadelphia territory. Go the Packers.
Well, and we talk about these teams when you have weapons, how they manufacture touches somehow. They find ways to get your impact players the ball. And that's what I don't understand, especially from a Matt LaFleur, offensive genius perspective, is how Jayden Reed goes without more than 1 or 2 catches on, several games this season.
Handoff up the middle. This time a few tackles missed on Josh Jacobs. He gets to the 40-yard line, so a 5-yard gain. He is a big back and able to get through tackles. Maybe you didn't see it as much in his time. Obviously in the numbers we did, but wasn't on TV as much when he was a Raider. A lot more this season as a Green Bay Packer, as they are one of the premier franchises in the NFL. And honestly, even though I'm not a Packer fan, obviously an Eagle fan, being from close to Philadelphia, I wish every organization was ran by the way that the Packers are, owned by the people of the town and the city. That would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Shotgun 2nd and 5. Motion to the near side comes Kraft, but now it's ran back the other way. Jacobs up the middle. This time he does have a little bit of room. Will make 4 yards forward and bring up 3rd and 1. So they are definitely getting Josh Jacobs the ball as much as possible to try to maybe do what the Eagles have done a lot to other teams. Wear them down, win the war of attrition, get to the second half, and have that defensive line huffing a little bit.
Absolutely. As we see a shot of Darius Slay on the sideline, a little banged up. We'll have to keep our eye on that situation.
He is out of the game on this play. 3rd and 1 for the Packers. Maybe the biggest yard they've had all game long. It is a direct snap to Tucker Kraft under center. He gets pushed by Jordan Love for 5, 6, 7 yards to the 30. Still going to the 28-yard line. Tucker Kraft came under center in motion at the last second, and a little bit of a tush push of their own. The Green Bay Packers gain a lot of yards to make it first down.
I've seen this kind of a lot more in the games where they're not necessarily putting their quarterback there. They're putting a bigger body like a tight end. And on the replay, he was absolutely stonewalled right there at the point, but then he was able to find a little space to the right for a very key first down for the Packers, so they don't have to kick a long field goal.
Shotgun, 3 wide receivers, and again, in motion is Jayden Reed from one slot to another. Looking that way again, a very similar pass pattern that he got a reception on earlier. This time, a 5-yard reception. Reed makes it 2nd and 5. Just pretty much flipped the way the screen went to Jayden Reed. Last time it went to the far side, this time to the near side on our televisions. 2nd and 6.
And again, you have to get Reed has to touch the ball and Jacobs has to touch the ball. And again, Wicks and Dobbs is great, but those are probably the 2 biggest impact players on the offense.
Shotgun. This time it is Dobbs, or actually Wicks in motion. It's a handoff up the middle with nowhere to go. And then he tries to bounce backwards as Josh Jacobs. He's going to lose 6 yards. Nakobe Dean with the tackle. 6 yards in the backfield to bring up what was a 2nd and manageable is now a 3rd and long.
Yeah, the left side of that offensive line did not hold up at all, and a huge loss puts the Packers in some rough territory here.
It was the all-pro Zach Bond meeting Jacobs in the backfield and forcing him to retreat, and then Nakobe Dean cleaned it up for a 6-yard loss. 3rd and 12 for the Packers. Shotgun. Jacobs is out of the game. It's 4 wide with Kraft in the slot. Plenty of time for Love. He steps up, has some running room, trying to get the first down. Will get close. Depends on the spot. He might be half a yard shy. And he's pointing first down, but I think he fell about a half yard short. We'll see what the referee says. 7:46 coming off the clock in the second quarter. 10-0 Eagles. Did Green Bay get enough yards to make this drive continue?
It certainly looked like he was short. I think that's a good spot by the official. But, you always hear the offensive player point like they got it, and then they're, in fact, short.
They're gonna go for it, and surprisingly, he's in the shotgun is Love. But it is a big set. Kraft in motion, back under center. That same exact play they ran earlier works again. This time, not as many yards, but enough for the first down. A 2-yard gain to the 16, and it'll continue the drive for Green Bay to try to break into this Eagles 10-point lead. Again, 10-0 Eagles, 7 minutes on the clock, and a fresh set of downs inside the red zone for the Packers.
Yeah, and again, field goal is okay, but if you're the Packers, you really want to see if you can get it in the end zone, because that's going to be what's really going to move the needle more in the Packers' direction.
So that fresh start of downs will start from the 16.5-yard line. Love is under center. Jacobs the deep back. Fakes the handoff, now looking to the far side. Throwing the ball is batted up in the air. Great coverage that time by number 34, Isaiah Rodgers, in for Darius Slay. There's a flag on the play. I don't think it's on Isaiah Rodgers. That was just good coverage. Illegal man downfield, it looks like, for the Green Bay Packers. Will back them up a few yards, and it'll be 1st and 15.
Yeah, if I was seeing that correctly, I think that was Glover, the lineman who came in for the injured Jenkins earlier in the game. So unfortunate, but again, that's something that's the Packers are gonna have to make up for the next couple of plays.
But not to be lost on that play was the incredible coverage. Like we said, he's coming in for an injured Darius Slay, but Isaiah Rodgers has done a good job all year long when he's been called on. Slay's been in and out as an older defensive player, but it's 1st and 15. Shotgun, bracketed in the backfield by Jaden Reed, and Jacobs is a handoff to the far side. Jacobs makes a man miss and then goes 5 yards forward. Not Brandon Jacobs. Wow. Flashback to an old New York Giants.
That's right.
But no, we got Josh Jacobs getting 5 yards to set up 2nd and 8. Darius Slay is headed to the locker room, has impacted this game already with interception, but it looks to be a hand injury for Darius Slay. We'll see how that develops. 6 minutes left in the second quarter, 10-0 Eagles. 2nd and 10 for the Packers inside the red zone at the 18-yard line. Shotgun with Kraft on the far side, and now Jaden Reed's been in motion a lot tonight. Fakes the motion, goes back into the slot. Love looks for a screen to Kraft, and Nakobe Dean blows it up in the backfield. A 2-yard loss will make it 3rd and 12. But now Nakobe Dean is seated on the ground. And I think he's okay. He's going to be able to get up under his own power. It might just be a little bit of a twinge, hopefully, because he's been phenomenal so far today, blowing that play up in the backfield.
Well, and mentioned on the previous Packers possession, it was that right tackle, Zach Tom, who got beat on the inside on that Jordan Love sack. It was Zach Tom again. This time it was Nakobe Dean that was able to make the play there and stop it right away. Looks like Dean needs a little bit of help off.
Oh, that's not a good sight for the Philadelphia Eagles. Usually when I do broadcasting, I'm fairly impartial. Today's kind of tough for me to do that. Dylan thought I wouldn't do this game. This game's way much more fun for me to do than if I were to do the earlier game or anything like that. But yeah, Nakobe Dean has been phenomenal for the Eagles this season, and he's being helped off. It's one of those initial things where if you see his knee it got landed on by Tucker Kraft, but I wonder what's going to happen. We have a report on Slay we'll get to in a second after this next play. As it's 3rd and 13 at the 20-yard line. The Packers trying to get a touchdown, but if they don't get here, a field goal will suffice to at least make it a one-score game. 10-0, 5:21 remaining. 3rd and 13, shotgun for Jordan Love. Has 4 wide receivers and Tucker Kraft again. Dropping back. He's under pressure, but he's able to get away from it on the near side. He throws it toward the end zone and out of the end zone. Incomplete. So they'll bring on the field goal unit, and while we do that, Benji, you want to do your report on Slay now? Let's bring you on for your report on Slay now to let us know what's going on with Darius Slay. Bring that microphone away from your mouth just a little bit. I can't hear you, Benji.
Darius Slay is out with an elbow injury and is questionable to return.
All right, questionable return. We'll have to see what's up with Nakobe Dean. Hopefully Benji can get us that one before the half. It is a 38-yard attempt for Brandon McManus on the right hash. He pushes it right, and it is no good. After all of that, and a great drive by the Packers. They come up with nothing. It is still 10-0 Eagles with 5:05 remaining in the first half. And if the Eagles can score before the half, it will go a long way in this game. Benji, obviously you're an Eagles fan. I'll let you stay on here real quick with that Eagles shirt you have on. How are you feeling so far about this game? Since you're honorary staff today because you like to hang out with us so much.
This defense has just been amazing today. The kickoff at the beginning of the game
was not a recovered fumble by the Eagles, Benji, at all, but we'll move past that.
Hey, I let it slide. I liked the call.
But go ahead.
Yeah, that was amazing. The Slay pick. I hope he comes back. This Eagles defense, led out by Vic Fangio, has just been amazing.
They have been really good. We appreciate your input. Benji will probably have you back at the half to let us. Oh, wrong one. There we go. To let us know if we have anything on the linebacker Nakobe Dean, who has had a phenomenal first half for the Eagles. Let's look at the box score and see. When I say he's been really good, Nakobe Dean leads the team with 6 total tackles, 2 of those for loss already, including the play he got hurt on. He blew up a tight end screen to Tucker Kraft in the backfield and was one of the reasons that they were forced to kick that field goal, which was missed by Brandon McManus, which coming into this game, the kicker I'd probably had trusted more with how the season was going. 26 for 28, Brandon McManus on the year heading into this game. Jake Elliott, not that high of percentage. Would have been Brandon McManus, but I guess today was not his day, at least to start.
No, and these are, missed opportunities. That if we're being honest, the Packers defense, outside of them being put in a really tough position on that first possession on that controversial turnover we talked about, that defense has held them to 3 points other than that. And so, this has been a really good performance. And if you're the Packers, you can't give up the opportunities like that field goal that was extremely makeable for, like you said, a kicker who's been good this season, but really has a track record of being a really solid kicker. So, that's one of those things that the Packers really need to shore up because they got to score.
Yeah, the Eagles defense has been phenomenal. The Packers, ever since they've been bringing that, oh no, there's Nakobe Dean being carted off the field in the back of a cart, patting his chest. Might be the day for Nakobe Dean. Under center on the first play of this drive is Jalen Hurts. Fakes the handoff to Saquon. Now he's looking down the field, but he's a little under pressure. Will roll to his right. Has a lead blocker in Lane Johnson. He's going to slide out underneath Johnson. Don't do that. That was not where you want to slide, right behind your all-pro right tackle. But it is a loss for Jalen Hurts of 2 yards, so bring up 2nd and 12. He got away from the pressure, but nothing was there.
Well, and I get, sliding, especially, coming off the concussion. You certainly don't want to take any unnecessary hits. But, yeah, it was just kind of weird that he slid right behind perhaps the most important offensive lineman you have on this offensive line. So,
yeah, well, this year actually is probably the second best offensive line. Mailata had an unbelievable season.
Sure.
But yes, he's a future Hall of Famer. Lane Johnson's been great. In the pistol formation is Jalen Hurts on this one. This time they fake another handoff to Saquon. He's going to have to roll to his left this time as he's under pressure. With time to throw, now he just releases it downfield to absolutely no one, and there is a flag down on the play on a 2nd and 13. And so far, this hopeful drive before the half to get some momentum has not gone the Eagles' way, as it is a penalty on them. And it'll back them up. But they are going to actually, no, never mind. Green Bay will decline. This makes sense to make it 3rd and 13 and a difficult. They've been 3rd and long a few times today. So we will see what happens here on 3rd and 13. 4:09 remaining in the first half. 10-0 Eagles. But outside of a fumbled opening kickoff, they really haven't done much offensively. As Justin has stated.
Oh, sorry. I said last time they were in this position, they simply just ran it and eventually punted.
And as you said, it would have made sense on 2nd down for them to do that. And I felt like Jalen pulling that. It feels like the last 2 drives, they've went away from handing the ball to the best player on the planet. Mm-hmm. We'll see what they do here on another 3rd and long. It's a drop back this time. Plenty of time and room to run on the far side, but Jalen's not going to get a first down. This time he tries to fight for some more yards. Not enough. He gets out to the 34, about 6 yards shy, and it'll be another punt. This is turned into a punting fest. Darius Slay is running back on the sideline. He doesn't have his helmet on him, but it is next to him with one of the athletic trainers. So maybe that's some good news on 2 defensive injuries to start the game for the Eagles.
Yeah, and obviously they'll punt here to Jaden Reed, who had a good punt return the last time.
Braden Mann will punt to this far side. It'll be a fair catch, and is it interference is the question. I guess Jaden Reed thinks he was touched because he tried to catch the ball, went off his helmet out of bounds, but that really won't affect anything at the 26-yard line. So 3:25, the Packers have some chance to recover some momentum heading into half with 3:25 remaining, down 10-0 in the first half.
Well, we talked about how big it would have been for Philadelphia to put on some points on that last drive just because of the situation, especially since their offense hasn't been, super great. They've had flashes, but they also get the ball after halftime. And which is why, especially now that the Packers have the ball back, it's almost crucial that the Packers get some points on this next possession because, the Philadelphia offense is good. At times they're great. I just can't see them at home being held to this for the entire game. So they're gonna have to put some points on here to maybe alleviate some of that pressure from their defense, who have been shouldering the pressure well so far, I will add to that.
Yeah, the defenses on both sides have been phenomenal to start the game. And like I said, I've been a little worried on the beginning of some games of the Eagles so far this season, how quiet they start, how slow they start. And then it seems like the second half they just turn it on, especially Saquon. And as any Eagles fans are out there, that's what we're hoping for here. But we'll see if the Green Bay Packers can get some momentum to head into the half as we come back from break shortly.
Yeah, it is worth noting. Jalen Hurts did start the game 6 for 6. His last 5, he is 0 for 5. So ever since he started, he's got a streak of 5 incompletions in a row. And we were talking about how, they've kind of gone away, it seems, from giving the ball to Saquon. I mean, he's only touched the ball 8 times, 9 times, including his one reception that didn't gain any yards. So 9 touches, 52 rushing yards. Again, still at 6.5 yards a clip. But again, it seems like they've kind of gone away from him, which is a little bit questionable.
Here's the problem with the Super Bowl this year. Even if Mahomes doesn't make it, and we'll all be happy if that doesn't happen, probably, unless you're a Chiefs fan. We are going to have Tom Brady in another Super Bowl. We got issues. We have so many issues in the NFL.
One of those you can't help, though.
Yeah, no, just when we thought we got away from one. But who knows? He can make it again. That team they just win. They win.
Yes, they do. And they, I think I'm a little bit, it's kind of interesting because we talked about the possible interference on that last punt. And usually in that case, they usually don't call it because they were blocked into the returner. But the Philadelphia Eagle defender was the one that was actually engaging in the contact with with one of the blockers. So kind of an interesting dynamic.
Number 21 for the Eagles, Sidney Brown, didn't touch the returner, but he pushed one of his own men into him.
Yeah.
Shotgun at the 28-yard line for Jordan Love. 2 wide receivers to the near side. He looks over the middle. Now has time. It's a very delayed screen to Josh Jacobs in the backfield, who stiff arms a man, but he doesn't get back to the line as he's met by the Eagles defense. It is a flag on the play. We'll see what the call is here. It will be a offensive holding call. That's usually when you see plays like that. It was a very delayed screen, so I'm not surprised that there was holding at some point on that play. So it'll set up a 1st and 20 and push Green Bay even further back on what is a very important drive.
And it was Travis Glover again, the guy who's in for the injured Elgton Jenkins, and he's really struggling here in relief.
Well, the interior of this defensive line for the Eagles is stellar. That time, Jordan Davis making the hold occur. So it'll be first and 20, 3:09 remaining in the first half for the Packers, trying to get something on the board. This one delivered to Jayden Reed, makes 2 men miss, 3 men miss. Cooper DeJean even misses. Jayden Reed making a play for the Packers to get close to a first down, and that was all the number one weapon, Jayden Reed. 4 Eagles missed a tackle on that play, and a first down for the Packers.
Yeah, that's something we haven't seen from the Eagles defense yet with all those missed tackles. But again, that's the explosiveness and the impact that Reed can have. And they have to be able to get him more touches as the game goes on. So far, the offense has done that.
Yeah, it was number 42, Oren Burks, and number 53, Zach Bond, both missing him early, and then Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship missing him late. Handoff up the middle to Josh Jacobs. He has 5-6 yards, and he's just been steady for 3 to 6 yards every single play, but another flag and an upset Josh Jacobs. So this one is going against another offensive holding, the second one of the drive, and another first and 20, and again, it's Glover. Like we said, Jacob Monk is the backup on their 2 deep, but Glover is the one they brought in. Maybe they want to think about switching. In fact, Glover is now off the field. Glover has been benched, pretty much. Coming on the field is number 76 or 78 for the 76. Kadeem Telfort will be now coming on the field for the Green Bay Packers. We made it to the 2-minute warning. Not much has happened since the opening kickoff in this game. 10-0 Eagles, with the Packers with one last hope to get some momentum going into halftime. At the halftime break, we'll have Liam Janelli and Dylan Goldman coming on, and a halftime report from Benji, hopefully getting some more report. All I saw from ESPN so far was Nakobe Dean carted off with an apparent lower body injury, so not a lot of information there. At the half, maybe Benji will give us a little more information. Benji says he got it. Benji's on the point. Halftime, Benji will have your report about what's happening with the stellar, right now leading tackler, Nakobe Dean for the Philadelphia Eagles. So you wonder, with that play by Jayden Reed, Nakobe Dean might have been there to meet him and put him down. But Benji says he's out. We'll get the exact, which is very sad to see. Nakobe Dean has been battling injuries ever since he came into the NFL. I'd love to see him have a great time, not just as an Eagles fan, but as you hate to see injuries derail a career.
Yeah, exactly. And, we've seen, watching football over the past, 2 decades or however long my working memory goes back, it seems like they're more common. We see, as we find bigger and better ways to get stronger and improve performance on the field. So it seems like there's more of these injuries that are happening, and I'd kind of be interested. I don't have any statistics that, back that up that I can refer to right away, but it just seems like more of these happen. But it also seems like in some cases that people come back from this, even like from significant injuries.
Well, they're definitely coming back faster, 100%, because of medical advances. But I think they do get injured more, and I don't know if it's a weaken of ligaments from, not to sound like someone that thinks the world's going apart, but the nutrition that we eat now, or if it's just from the strength that's on those ligaments. As a baseball fan, it is 100% because of performance that everybody has Tommy John surgery. They've come out with a report that says pitchers are throwing too hard, and that's why we have so many Tommy John surgeries. So you wonder if it's a similar thing with the knee situation, the ankle situation in the NFL, especially the knees, the MCL, PCL, LCL, meniscus tears that we see on such a regular basis, it seems, in the NFL. Turf obviously hasn't helped that, but this was not a turf situation. This was not a non-contact injury at all. It was completely being fell on by Tucker Kraft that resulted in that Nakobe Dean injury. So 1st and 20 at the 2-minute warning for the Packers. 3 wide receivers. Jayden Reed to the far side. Actually, it's 4 wide receivers for the first time today for the Packers. Love receives the snap, throws to the far side, and it's the only man that wasn't a receiver. Tucker Kraft with the reception. He's got some running room. Will gain 12 of the 20 back and set up 2nd and 8, which is all you could really ask for. He does fall out of bounds. It'll stop the clock at 1:52. Give some time for the Packers to regroup and think of what they want to do here on the 2nd and 8.
Yeah, that was much needed for the Packers offense, especially now that they're in a 2-minute drill situation.
We'll see if Telfort coming in at guard can help them more than what happened prior to this. Shotgun again, dropping back, looking to the far side, but now underneath to the backup running back, a 2-yard gain, 3-yard pushing forward. And that is Brooks for a 4-yard gain. They'll set up 3rd and 4. And the Packers will not call their first timeout with a 1:35 coming off the clock, taking them a little time to set up. They're at the 45-yard line, 3rd and 4. Shotgun, and still taking time is Jordan Love. You would think he would hike it right away with 1:23 coming off the clock, 1:22. Now they're taking their sweet time. Under 1:20 goes the clock. 10-0 Eagles. You think they'd be in a hurry. Dropping back, throwing to that far side, has his man Romeo Doubs. He only gains 3 or 4 yards. He's inbounds. Now you would assume they'd take the timeout with 1:06 coming off the clock. Maybe I don't understand how football is supposed to work, and I am wrong, as a minute is ticking off the clock. Call a timeout. Matt LaFleur is taking after his predecessor, Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, with terrible clock management. The 48-yard line is where they set up. Dropping back is Love again, under pressure, and he's going to release the ball incomplete. Zach Bond almost got the interception, but it fell in front of him. How? Why? Justin, I'm not an NFL coach. NFL coaches are morons. It is not that hard to call a timeout when you need to call a timeout. I don't understand how they can get paid this much money, be so smart, and know so much about football and not know how to call a timeout. It blows my mind. I'm not a Packers fan. I'm happy they're stupid, but don't be stupid.
Well, and it just in the case of, an offense that really hasn't got a lot going, a timeout would be great just to regroup and just make a decision and kind of talk about it rather than feeling rushed.
Instead, it was a wasted play, but now plenty of time for Love over the middle. And Zach Bond almost got the interception. The last one, he gets it on this one, and the Eagles will have the ball. So maybe it's good they didn't call a timeout because the Birds would have more time. But that still doesn't excuse that Matt LaFleur made a terrible decision not calling timeout. But the Birds, with their 3rd turnover of the first half, the all-pro Zach Bond, the linebacker, stepping up and getting the interception. Jordan Love had all day to make an easy throw and did not at all perform.
Yeah, I don't know if he thought Kraft was going to keep going. He kind of got tripped up at the line and then kind of stopped running. It would have been a little high for Kraft, I think. And there was a receiver. I didn't catch the number of the receiver, but coming on the other side, and it would have been severely underthrown and behind him. So that was, overall, that was just kind of an errant throw that, again, if you call a timeout, maybe that doesn't happen because we can settle down a little bit.
As spectacular as Jordan Love was last year, he has been not good this year. I don't like people not doing well, but Jordan Love, the hype coming out last year, has been thwarted this year. So the Eagles have a great opportunity here to put more points on the board at the Green Bay 45. Hand off to Saquon, up the middle, running room for 5-6 yards, brought down there. Timeout, Eagles. The clock is stopped.
Hopefully.
Timeout.
Yeah, hopefully we got a little but kind of going back to what you said about Jordan Love, I mentioned it in the pregame, kind of comparing to another playoff quarterback, CJ Stroud. Both of them kind of overall took a step back this year in terms of performances.
CJ Stroud definitely stepped up yesterday, at least in the second
absolutely.
half. The first half was horrible football, but the second half he definitely stepped up.
Absolutely. And that's kind of been, at least, when you look at the talking heads on ESPN and Fox, those are two that get compared just because of their similar ages and experience in the NFL. And, we're looking at the bad version of Jordan Love in this first half.
Yep, 2nd and 4, 31 seconds remaining. The Eagles sit at the 39-yard line of the Green Bay Packers trying to get more points on the board. We'll see if it comes the way of the foot of Jake Elliott or someone getting a touchdown for the Birds. Shotgun, dropping back with time, is Jalen Hurts. Throwing over the middle of the field is incomplete, looking for Dallas Goedert, who wants a penalty on Williams, will not get it. Just good coverage overall, and it'll be 3rd and 4 for the Birds.
Yeah, look, again, those are it's hard to tell, especially watching it in fast motion if it was just a good time there. But based on that replay and your reaction, he definitely was there early.
Yeah, he was. The ball was in view when he hit Dallas Goedert. So, like you said, fast action, depending on the angle of the ref, I get that sometimes, but that was definitely pass interference. But we'll see if the Eagles can bounce back. 3rd and 4 from the 39. 26 seconds remaining in this first half. Hurts will have time to throw again. Throws it over the middle, but incomplete. Underthrown to A.J. Brown. 4th and 4, 22 seconds. They'll probably just punt it away because this would be a massive kick. But Jalen Hurts is staying on the field with 22 seconds remaining. You wonder if they throw it in the middle, so if it is caught, if it'll just take up too much time.
Or maybe they're just going to try to get him off sides, maybe get a free first down is also possible.
Hurts is not under center, and that's what you usually see from that situation. They're at the 39. Hurts is in the shotgun with Gainwell to his right. Goddard to his left is now in motion, and now we have the Goddard motion might have drawn the Green Bay Packers offside.
I'm not sure he crossed any lines.
And no, he did not. They're going to call an illegal motion on Dallas Goedert, false start, but he moved to the outside like he was moving in motion. I don't quite understand how that's false start. I'm going to have to ask Liam at halftime how that's a false start. Actually, I'm going to bring on Liam right now because there's 22 seconds left. If he can come back with us real quick, because he knows more football rules than I do. He's a rules analyst for today. But it just looked like maybe it was too much of a sudden movement. But that forces them back to 4th and 9. It'll be a punt away situation for Braden Mann, who's been on constantly in this first half, it seems, unexpectedly for the Eagles.
With those 2 key defensive injuries for the Eagles, someone's got to step up, and he's been doing it so far.
So at the 11-yard line is where Jaden Reed will fair catch the ball with 14 seconds remaining. I'm assuming it'll be a kneel, and we'll go to halftime. 10-0 Eagles. Not an exciting first half. I think most of the excitement we had happened in the first minute and a half of the game. And besides that, it's been you and me having a conversation about underperformance on both sides of the football. Sometimes I think if I was a quote-unquote real play-by-play announcer for a real team, they would think I talk too much about how the game's actually going instead of just doing the game. And Jordan Love, with 14 seconds remaining on the clock at the 11-yard line, is under center for the kneel, and we will head to halftime with that. 10-0 Eagles on the Student Sports Network Staffcast. I'm Zeke Sprague along with Justin Louder. We're going to let Liam Ginelli and Dylan take over and also get our halftime report from Benji, who has a little more information on the injuries. And after that first drive, not much happened. But let's real quick before we let Liam and Dylan take it over. Liam, was that a false start? Is it because of like a sudden movement? Like what? I was confused by that situation.
You're allowed to move in motion when on the cadence. He didn't move forward past the line of scrimmage at all. I'm confused if someone else moved and they called him the wrong player, Dallas Goedert. I think he was trying to move motion out to an out route to the sideline. You're allowed to move like that. If anything, it should be a neutral zone because Green Bay moved prior to him, Dallas Goedert moving. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's 3 points off the board possibly. So, but Philadelphia is in the driver's seat to control the rest of this game. So, I mean, if that's the call that dictates the whole game, then we'll look back on that. But I was just confused as you guys were.
All right, I just want to make sure that I didn't miss something, especially since we have the sound off on our TV. But you guys can take it over. Enjoy the halftime. We'll be back as the half goes out, and obviously we'll have Benji come on with his halftime report.
All right. Thanks so much, Zeke and Justin. Great call the first half here. Welcome back to the SBC Staffcast. I'm Dylan Goldman here and my partner, Liam. Well, that was a first half. I don't know if I would say that was a great one, but it was indeed a first half. The Eagles lead 10-0 here at halftime. And, Liam, all I could think watching that game is, if I was in the Green Bay Packers building, I would be pulling my hair out right now because the Eagles really are not, we talked about all their weapons and all of their firepower, the pregame. They're not, showing that right now. And yet the Packers, 3 turnovers, 0 points. I would be very frustrated if I was with the Packers right now. What went wrong besides the turnovers? It just seems like they could never put it together.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Green Bay's defense, I'm going to be fed up with the offense for not finding results. I mean, they got in the field goal range. I know there's some holding calls and some bad delayed screen blocking on that play to Tucker Kraft. But, again, Brandon McManus, that should be a routine chip play for him, chip shot for McManus. Someone that played at Temple, knows the link very well. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to make jokes about that, but seriously, it should be 10-3. I understand no touchdown. But the Eagles' offense, the Packers' defense doing their job. They're setting pressure at Hurts, like something I mentioned in the pregame, that I would say you want to make Hurts win this game for the Eagles. That's how the Packers are playing it. And Jordan Love looks awful in the pocket. I know he had 2 plays where he stepped up and took advantage of his legs, but also that pick, it's just like he was eye down on the in route the entire time to Dontavian Wicks. If anything, it was Bo Melton on the corner route on the other side of the field. That was the first read that he should have looked for. So very interesting to see how Matt LaFleur and adjusts for the second half. But this has been the tale of the whole story for the Eagles, that they keep their opponents within reach for the first 30 minutes. And that second half, they usually run away with it. So, but if I'm Green Bay, I get a quick 3 and out, then you got to be aggressive. They looked for the deep ball, but it was so underthrown. Dontavian Wicks couldn't even get around Darius Slay. So it'd be interesting if they attack the middle of the field with no Kobe Dean the rest of the way.
Yeah, you're looking at the stats, and the Green Bay only got outgained by 24 yards. They got a nice drive going there at the end. The 3 turnovers, really are just super frustrating. But as you said, it's important for Green Bay, not to get too low. They got to come out of this half, get another stop, and then they got to finally get points on the board. But you also wonder in the other locker room in Philadelphia, do they feel like, we're letting them hang around? We have to get going here. And you wonder, how do they jumpstart this offense? Because Jalen Hurts did not come out. We were talking about wondering how he would come out after that concussion. He did not come out guns blazing. Saquon Barkley had some nice runs, but you have to wonder that the Eagles are also a little bit worried that they might leave the Packers some room to come back.
Yeah, it's hard not to give Saquon Barkley the ball. He has 9 carries for 57 yards. You see what he's doing on these outside run concepts of him bouncing off the tacklers, finding the gaps to go through. He's producing. It's not like he has 12 carries for 8 yards and nothing's working for the Eagles. But again, Green Bay's doing a good job out there. But Devontae Wyatt, the starting tackle for the Packers, have been in and out with an injury. So wonder if they go back to the A or B gap side runs that have Saquon break one free, because he's fully capable of doing so. Even being 27, he still has the capabilities to take one to the house. He's the home run hitter that the Eagles have besides his own line. Again, but when you stack 8 on the line, it's hard to find everyone to block, and that's what they're doing. Again, I think there'll be a lot more screen passes designed for Jalen Hurts and a lot more RPO concepts in the last 30 minutes.
And we're going to bring back our sideline reporter now, Benji. We've got Benji back with us. Benji, what do you take away from that first half? Any updates we should know?
Nakobe Dean is out for the rest of the game with a knee injury, as we saw him get carted off on the sideline there. I thought the defense did amazing this half with Zach Bond, Darius Slay interceptions, the fumble on the opening kickoff. I thought those were just amazing. The Packers, they're really struggling to get their offense and Jordan Love going, and I think the Eagles are doing very well on defense.
And Benji, we talked about your prediction before the game. You said the Eagles are going to win. It looks pretty good right now, but like I just was talking about with Liam, it is still only 10-0. Are you a little bit concerned that after all those turnovers, the score is still so close, or do you think the Eagles will pull away in the second half as they tend to do?
Yeah, I think the defense needs to stay locked in, and Jalen Hurts needs to get some more offense going. Maybe some more handoffs to Saquon Barkley, more targets for Brown and Smith. I think the Eagles' offense has to get going a little bit to make it more on the scoreboard.
That sounds about right to me. Well, thank you again, Benji, for checking in with us. We will come back to you because there's already been a couple of critical injuries here in this game. We've had Nakobe Dean, Darius Slay was in and out. So, that's going to play a big role in the rest of this game. Nakobe Dean is a huge part of that Eagles defense. Now I want to ask Liam again. I know you have some background in this. Yeah. If you're Matt LaFleur right now, what are you saying in that locker room to what could be at least a frustrated Green Bay Packer defense and team? What's your message?
Yeah, it's always cliche to say the score is 0-0, but you're playing like you're trailing more than 10 points. They're lucky this game's not gotten out of hand yet, so you got to give a lot of credit to you guys for not giving up. But one quick score from the Eagles, and you're down 2 scores again, 17-0, possibly 3. I think that's the point where people start to check out and say, this is our season. Again, I mentioned prior, should be like a kitchen sink game. You got to show everything on the tape if you want to come out. They tried taking a deep shot, but it just did not work. Again, Vic Fangio takes away all that plot, trying to play some cover too high, so the safeties go to the sidelines and not let that big play happen. So a lot of these plays have been designed underneath. Again, we see Jaden Reed, they're trying to move to the sideline, these out routes to get to the sticks. If that's how they want to play in time of possession, they have to bang on their defense, going to stop here right out of halftime. It seems like everything, the wind got taken out of the sails off that fumble. That really shifted the whole game. If that drive never happens, it could be 7-3 Green Bay, or if not, worst case scenario, 3-0. Or it could be 3-3, then the what-if scenario. But if I'm Matt LaFleur in that locker room, I say go out there, defense, do your job, promise we're going to put up points for you. And it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, because, I mean, you keep looking at the stats. I mean, Green Bay led time in possessions. First downs are pretty much even. So, I think it's going to be very interesting to see because, we're in a new half. That fumble is behind them. But it clearly has played a huge role in this game because it is our only touchdown right now, basically, leading to a short field for the Eagles. So I just, I will be very interested to see coming out of this half. I think you're right. This first possession is so critical. If the Packers defense continues to hold up, then I think the pressure turns on Jordan Love because we've been talking, about his game last year, but that was last year in Dallas. And now, we saw Justin Herbert yesterday put out a disappointing performance. We're talking about these young quarterbacks. They're making a lot of money. I think the onus really is going to be on Jordan Love to make some plays and kind of break through that Eagles defense that has them in a donut right now at halftime.
Yeah, it's going to be funny because I feel like the same things that we said in tonight's game. How can Jane Daniels do in a big game spotlight for him, a rookie in his first game? But again, this is nothing for Jordan Love. This is a totally different quarterback that I saw from last year and down the stretch too. It seems like everyone's trying to solve Green Bay's offense, but when you don't have a high playmaker wide receiver to really catch the contested balls and open up much of the field and have a lot of this defense is solely focused them. That's why it makes it harder. They're not worried about Jalen Reed, Dontavian Wicks. Again, there's no home run hitter like Christian Watson to stretch the field like they've been doing in the deep post routes or go routes. So that's why they're so comfortable playing back. And Josh Jacobs started to get some run games going there. What Green Bay really does well is that RPO action. You've seen it towards the games down the stretch. I know I had Josh Jacobs in fantasy. I'm not trying to bring up the point there, but the screen passes, the late handoffs. But again, that front seven so good for Philadelphia, it's hard to even do that. And again, they're on the road. That place is loud. Seems like they haven't had any trouble with the snaps or the cadences so far. But again, if you want to, you got to take control of this game if you want to silence down and be in the driver's seat. Again, 15 minutes on the clock. I got a funny feeling Nick Sirianni's coming out of this halftime saying we're going to shoot at least 6 or 7 minutes off of this. So again, a lot more vulgar things could be said in that locker room right now, but.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting. I talk about Matt LaFleur, but I just am also really interested in this Eagles team because, if I'm that offense, you put up 125 yards. Jalen Hurts has, I think, only 40 yards passing. They know they're better than that. And I think, it'll be interesting to see how much of a purpose, how much of a statement they're looking to make out of this halftime. But, it really is hard to believe, it's one of those games where it feels like it's more out of reach than it being 10-0. But really, you take away that fumble, it's probably only 3-0 right now. So it'll be very interesting to see out of this half. Does Green Bay kind of keep up the defensive pressure, or does Philly come out, whether it's smashed mouth with Saquon, or do we see something from Jalen Hurts, maybe struck off the rust, the cobwebs? And I think that's going to tell the story of the rest of the game is how this drive plays out.
I am concerned that I know there is some reports, we got it from Benji too, that he wants a medical tent. Don't know if that's affecting his ability at all. Never got a report on specified what he was looking at, if it was a finger or shoulder. I don't think it was a head injury because that would have been all over everywhere. So going to be very interesting to see if that was part of the reason. Probably won't find out anything. If anything, Nick Sirianni's smart. Even if they lose, maybe something comes out and he's dealing with something. But seriously, I mean, that does hinder it. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Whoops. I just brought us back in the wrong way. I'm sorry. Apologize. Go ahead.
Well, anyways, we've got Zeke and Justin back with us in case you couldn't tell. Zeke and Justin, me and Liam have been talking about basically this whole break, how this has been quite an odd game from the perspective of it seems like it's a game that Green Bay should be really behind in, and yet you look at the stats and it's fairly even. It's just the gaping thing that jumps your eye is the turnovers, 3-0. I mean, that is just hard to overcome on the road. But yet we talked about Matt LaFleur goes in the locker room, you're down 10-0. So what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, it seems like Green Bay, I have a hard time seeing them mustering much offense, but at the same time, it's only such a small deficit. So it would be really interesting to see what happens in the second half.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I was going to say, you certainly, if you're the coaching staff, you're Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff, you have to paint it from the perspective of, I'm not sure we could play a worse half of playoff football. And the fact that, at least on the scoreboard, again, I totally agree, it doesn't feel like it's only a 10-point game. But the fact that it is a 10-point game, you have to come in with that mentality. And you have to start strong too. With the turnovers, it's basically like stealing possessions. And the only touchdown that had been scored in the game have come off of the first play on the kickoff where the Eagles were able to steal a possession. And, talked about before, I mean, it's kind of – it may not be relevant right now, but talking about the only way the Packers can stay in the game is to, maybe force Philadelphia to make mistakes. That narrative hasn't really happened at all because the mistakes have been made by the Packers. And again, the 10 points is, like you said, it certainly has a unique feel to the game. And so the Packers, I mean, I'd be kind of happy in a way, I guess, from the Packers perspective to see how bad it's been and only be 10 points.
But real quick, before we get back to broadcasting, I want to ask Liam this. Obviously, it was a moot point because of the interception by Zach Bond after the fact. But Liam, how come NFL coaches are so bad at managing a clock?
What's funny, when I muted the stream, all I saw he was going like this, so I was like, I know he's venting about the timeout. It's been a thing all year. I understand you want to keep the momentum and stuff, but you know how much time it takes off from the rep to set up the ball, getting the cadence and all that. Again, the first time that you call and play and whatever the cadence is, the center's not going to hear you because that's how loud it is in Philly. If you're the home team, I understand you're trying to push the ball, but it's mostly on the away teams trying to get them push momentum in their favor. But as the more time you go down the field, the louder the venue gets. I'll never get it. Hopefully, I don't think a timeout even saves that drive because you can say the same thing that Jordan Love throws a bad, costly pick to end the drive.
Yeah, like I said, it was a moot point just because of the interception happening. But I don't understand. I see it so often. I'm just like, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to get millions of dollars to do this stuff.
I must mention, I think it's important to note the school that Zach Bond attended is quite notable. I just wanted to put that out there for the world.
I'm guessing he's a former Badger because that's where Dylan goes to school.
Oh, really?
Yes. At the University of Wisconsin.
Yes.
Up there in freezing cold Wisconsin. But you're in Florida still, right?
I am in Florida.
Okay, so you don't deal with that cold now. All right, awesome. We appreciate both you guys so much. We'll have you back, obviously, multiple times during the rest of the game. Liam, thank you for your knowledge on football. Dylan, thank you for your big words. And you know he's an intelligent man if he goes to the University of Wisconsin. You have to be kind of smart to get into that school. It's a good school up there in Madison. A great place. I'd love to visit eventually. I heard it's the best college town there is, and not just from Dylan. The Eagles have received the kick and made it out to the 25-yard line. The first play under center is Saquon Barkley up the left-hand hash for about 4 yards, and it will be 2nd and 6 from there. I'm going to listen to what Aaron Andrews has to say because I want to hear if it's an injury report, and I can't find myself to unmute my feed. So, Justin, if you can unmute it and see what she has to say, that'd be appreciated. If not, I'm fine. I just don't know what I did with my remote control.
I actually have the captions on while I'm watching, and he says he's a knee injury and he's out for the rest of the game. So we will not be seeing Nakobe Dean for the remainder of this game. No comment made on the extent of it. We'll hear more about that, I'm sure, as the days progress.
It was a 6-yard run or 4-yard run on the first snap, a 6-yard run up the middle this time for Saquon. Will get a first down for the Eagles, and they'll move the chains early here in the third quarter. 14 minutes, only a minute into the second half. Here's me still looking for my remote control. 10-0 Eagles if you're just joining us. Not much happened in that first half. Absolutely squat diddly nothing pretty much. And it'll be 1st and 10, the second set of downs for the Eagles here on the 36-yard line. Jalen, in the rare occasion, is under center. Hands off to Saquon. Has to make 2 men miss in the backfield now, 3, 4, 5. There was more yellow hats in the backfield than there were green. And it'll be 2nd and 11.
Yeah, we talked about that at the end of the second half, that it seemed like the Eagles moved away from Saquon, and obviously that play wasn't that great. But the first two, he got a first down by himself there. So, again, you can't forget about your, all-pro record-breaking running back there if you're the Eagles coaching staff.
This time it's an empty back set for Jalen Hurts, who has time to throw. Now moves to his left side. He's getting pressured and he cannot get rid of the ball, and he's sacked 7-8 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Eventually, you just have to throw the ball away, and it'll be 3rd and super long for the Eagles on this first drive of the second half.
And again, the Packers got pressure, only bringing in 4 players, which is going to have to be a key for them to contain the potential of this Philly offense. But again, ever since the first quarter, Hurts has been struggling.
Yeah, number 52 on the sack for the Packers. That's Rashawn Gary, the defensive lineman, getting in. After, honestly, Jalen had like 6-7 seconds to throw it. 3rd and 19, they just take their medicine and head to the sideline. A handoff to Barkley goes all of an inch. So it'll be 4th and 19, and the person's name who I've probably said the most tonight, Braden Mann, coming back out on the field. I would say it would be Daniel Whalen because the Packers have had more offensive drives than the Eagles, or actually a little less, but they've turned the ball over 3 times, so he has not been on the field that much. But the other person who said is Jaden Reed, as he is back to receive another punt from Braden Mann. 11:48 coming off the clock in this third quarter, just starting the second half. 10-0 Eagles in an uneventful NFC wildcard game. A heck of a kick by Braden Mann brings Jaden Reed all the way back to the 10. Makes one man miss on the far side. He's not going to get much further. Brought down at the 16, a 5-yard gain. It's the All-Pro in on special teams. Zach Bond, who's going to now have to lead this defense without his partner in crime, who is now out with an injury, Nakobe Dean, as that will be maybe the biggest storyline of the second half. He has been the leading tackler for the Eagles this afternoon, and he will not be available for this defense.
Well, and again, you especially, really all season, but especially in the playoffs, you have to have the next man up mentality. And Zach Bond is not necessarily the next man up, but certainly, when you're missing the impact players in Nakobe Dean and Darius Slay, you have to have players that can then make those plays in return. And, Zach Bond has done that and more, along with, again, that defensive line from Philly. You're putting a lot of pressure on that Packers offensive line.
Yeah, Zach Bond obviously is not the next man up. Zach Bond is the man up. He has been phenomenal this season. He is an all-pro after being unknown pretty much heading into the season. When they signed him, people were like, who is that? But Vic Fangio knew exactly what he was doing, get the man out of New Orleans to come here on a contract. Zach Bond has 150 tackles this season. Heading into this season, he had 56 tackles total. 66 tackles total. I was slightly off on that. So he almost had 100 more tackles this season than he did for the other 4 years of his career down in New Orleans. I guess Vic Fangio, being the stellar defensive coordinator and veteran coach in the NFL, knew exactly what he was doing. Exactly what he was doing when he brought in Zach Bond.
I see what you did there.
Yep. You ever watch The Floor, Justin?
The trivia show?
Yes.
Yeah, I love The Floor.
Me too. I made a show, The Grid. We played this summer at camp that was supposed to kind of modeled after that. I was so upset to see that they filmed season 2 and 3 back to back, and I wasn't able to apply for season 3. I want to be on that show so bad.
What would your category be?
Well, board games I would annihilate almost. I would annihilate 99.5% of the human beings on the planet. Because it's not me bragging; it's me saying I have a board gaming problem. And then almost anything sports, and not because I'm the best at sports trivia. It's because I've made so much sports trivia for camp that I know so much about sports trivia. If it wasn't for camp and me having to make so many trivia games for the kids at camp, I'd be mediocre. But unfortunately, now I know way too much about trivia. So it'll be the first play of this drive for the Packers will be at their own 16-yard line. Love is under center with Josh Jacobs, who's been the only consistent thing of their offense so far, receiving the pitch to the near side. He's got plenty of running room for the first time tonight and gets 8 yards to set up 2nd and 3. That was the first time he wasn't touched within the first 3 yards of the box on a run pretty much all afternoon so far.
And that was his longest run of the game, was just that 7 yards, because that defensive line has done a great job at clogging up the holes that he could run through. And again, bringing him down pretty much immediately the entire first half.
And the other thing about Nakobe Dean's the one that calls the plays into the defense on the for the Eagles. So that will be something missed by the Eagles. They'll have to listen to Zach Bond and being the next man up, at least in that. It's a counter run this time by Jacobs, who was brought down by the rookie Quinyon Mitchell with a great tackle to prevent another first down and bring up 3rd and 2 for this Eagles defense, and the Packers with a chance to hopefully get some get some momentum going.
Yeah, it looks like I believe I see Darius Slay back on the field. So Slay is back in after taking a quicker halftime exit to go get it checked out, but I believe it looks like he's on the near side receiver.
He's on the near side on Romeo Doubs on this current play. I'm surprised Jordan Davis is coming out of this play on third down. It's probably a short third down. No, they will pass the ball over the middle, a little bit of a Texas route to Josh Jacobs. He gets 7, 8, 9, 10 yards up the middle, came underneath the linebacker who was covering him, and Josh Jacobs moves the chains for the Packers here in the third quarter. 9:55 on the clock. Packers down 10-0. Trying to get something, anything going on offense. Josh Jacobs has been the best at that so far for them and does a good job there. It was the backup linebacker in coverage who wasn't able to stay with him. So that's usually Nakobe Dees' assignment there. We'll see what happens and how that develops. Tucker Kraft in motion to the near side. He also receives the pass on the throw from Love. Makes one man miss. That's Reed Blankenship, but he is forced out of bounds only a yard after that. And it'll be 2nd and 5.
They showed a stat in the first half that was looking at Jordan Love's completion percentage under 10 yards and above 10 yards, and he hasn't had that many attempts past 10 yards, but both of his interceptions have actually happened trying to go long, or at least 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. He has a really high field goal percentage below 10 yards.
This one is a run up the middle on 2nd and 6, only goes about a yard. It was not Josh Jacobs. It's backup number 31, Emmanuel Wilson. They have Brooks and Wilson are the backup running backs. Brooks was in the first half. Wilson here are the first backup opportunity the second half. 3rd and 4, the Eagles fans get loud. Blankenship made that tackle. Him and this defense will try to stop Green Bay yet again. 8:33 coming off the clock in the third quarter with Green Bay having a goose egg on the scoreboard, down 10-0 to the home Eagles. They're at the 41-yard line. Love runs up to the line to make the calls. 3 wide receivers and Kraft all the way out wide to this side. Now Love drops back, throws it deep this time, and it is caught at the 30-yard line, brought in by number 13. Datavian Wicks with a reception, got underneath the man covering him, and the first long reception of the game in front of Reed Blankenship for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, Love might have needed that Wicks adjustment to come back and get that for a little bit of confidence because, again, 2 interceptions and no points on the board, and it looked like it always makes you nervous when you see a quarterback let go of the ball. In that situation, just kind of lob it up. But Wicks did a really good job to get the ball into plus territory.
Yep, he was under pressure, was Jordan Love, but now he's going to hand the ball off up the middle, out of the shotgun, and a man is shredded by Josh Jacobs, but then he's brought down after a 7-yard gain. The tackle finally made by number 29, Avonte Maddox, who's in the game. Wonder kind of why, because he's usually a backup in the Eagles defense. And Darius Slade, like you said, did come back in the game, and he still is in the game. 2nd and 3 after that 7-yard scamper at the Eagles 26. So the second time today that the Green Bay Packers have ventured into Eagles territory. Sorry, the 24-yard line. 2nd and 3, motion. Dropping back, Love with time, now rolling to his left, looking downfield, throwing toward the end zone. It is incomplete, thrown into double coverage, looking for Romeo Doubs, but it was Quinion Mitchell and as well as Avonte Maddox, and Romeo Doubs is down in the end zone and not looking like something feels good, but there's holding on the offense. I missed the flag because it wasn't on the graphics, and it'll back them up 10 yards. That's number 76, Kadeem Telford, the one that came in for the injured. Well, not the one that came in. The one that came in because the original backup that came in for the injured offensive lineman did not do a good job, and now he gets a holding call. We will take a break in action with 6:48 remaining in the third quarter. 10-0 Eagles. But the Green Bay Packers are in Eagles territory to try to get their first points of the afternoon or evening, depending on what part of the country. It's evening for me, afternoon for Justin, depending on what part of the country you're in.
Most likely you're going to be between us geographically. So,
yeah, unless you're in New Jersey, then you're east of me. Liam is east of me. Dylan is also technically east of me because he's about far east as you can get in the United States. He is on the east coast of Florida. Well, I guess Now I want to look up the longitude latitude situation and see who's further east, because I know New Jersey's obviously further east than Florida is, because it goes like this up the. Well, that kind of looks backwards,
Yeah.
but you get what I'm trying to say.
Well, on Labor Day, I was in North Carolina and I went to the coast and, got to experience the warm water of the Atlantic versus the cold water of the Pacific. And it was weird because where we were at North Carolina, actually, when we were on the coast, was facing south. And on the West Coast, we don't have that. So we were trying to set up, the umbrella for shade and tried to, usually wasn't used to the sun moving parallel with the coastline there because we don't have that here. So
Understood. Yeah, we have that in some of the little hooks, especially if you go up to the Cape in Massachusetts. Thanks, Paul, for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hopefully the Eagles score now. That would be great. But we'll see what happens. But Justin, yeah, the East Coast is a little different. The first time I went to Los Angeles, I was like, how do y'all swim in this water out here? It is freezing cold.
And
but
in LA, you're probably in better water too. Well, a little warmer water too than up in Oregon.
Romeo Doubs is one of those players that wears the protecting cap on his helmet. And he was the guardian cap, as they call him. He was smushed between two defenders and immediately reached for his head. You hope he's okay. They do have him sitting up. So you wonder what they're looking at. And we're still kind of relaxing here on the Student Sports Network. We appreciate you joining us as we have a delay in the action. If you have a child between the ages of 10 and 18 who are interested in sports broadcasting, look us up, playbyplaycamps.com, the #1 sports broadcasting camp in the country in so many cities this summer. I've lost count. 14 cities I think will be in the summer. It'll be a absolute blast, as I like to say, in every city. If you want to come hang out with me and Justin at the same time, Seattle is the place to go. Justin will be in Denver. I'll be pretty much everywhere else. Unless we have multiple camps in 1 week, I will be at whatever camp is that week. Start off in Dallas, head to Florida. After that, then we come north for the 3-week camp. 3 camps in 1 week. Benji says he has a different Packers injury update. Jeff, I don't know who the old guy is me or Justin, but I guess I'm older than Justin, and I'm the one with the gray beard. So I'm going to go with, I guess I'm the old guy. One of my friends just said, who's the old guy they let around all the kids? I guess that's me. Or Jeremy, but we won't get into that. All right. Benji. I got to remove the other two. What's your report, Benji?
Elgton Jenkins, guard, and Devontae Wyatt, lower leg, are both out for the rest of the game for the Packers.
And we've seen so far that injury to Elgton Jenkins has hurt them. They've brought in 2 separate backup linemen so far in the game, and combined they have 4 holding calls. So that injury has been huge for this offense at Green Bay. It's backed them up multiple times. Benji, we appreciate your input. How do you feel about that first drive for the Eagles in the second half?
That was not a good first drive for the Eagles.
Yeah, not so much. It's
Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and the guards need to figure this out.
Yeah.
Maybe throw the ball some more. I don't know why you would run the ball on 3rd and 16.
Just to prevent turnovers at that point, I guess. But thank you, Benji. We'll see you throughout the rest of the time as well. Let's go back to the action as Romeo Doubs being helped off the field. Unfortunately, he's one of those people that's also struggled with injuries. That's why he wears the guardian cap, but it looks like it was a leg injury for him. We head back to the action. 2nd and 13 after the holding call, 6:48 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Dropping back is Love, throwing over the middle, is knocked down at the line of scrimmage by the Eagles defense. And it'll be 3rd and 13 on the edge of what is field goal territory, especially after an early miss, and it's the all-pro Jalen Carter getting up, 2 hands in the air, knocking down the ball. He's stellar.
Yeah, and again, made a really good play to put the Packers in a really tough position. You said field goal range. Brandon McManus missed a much shorter field goal than this one would be if they end up having to kick it. Packers kind of need something here.
Love will drop back, throwing deep, near far side, incomplete, but there's a flag on the play, and they're going to call the rookie Quinyon Mitchell for pass interference. We'll see on the replay. Yeah, that's pass interference.
He doesn't think it is, though.
No, of course not. And as an Eagles fan, I wish I could think the same thing, but that's definitely pass interference on Quinyon Mitchell, and it'll give the Packers their best opportunity of the game. They'll have 1st and goal from inside the 10. We'll see where they spot it after the penalty. But Dontayvion Wicks was the intended receiver and did a good acting job to play it up a little bit, but it definitely was pass interference. To give 1st and goal from the 8-yard line for Jordan Love in this defense, who's 12 for 19 for 114 and 2 interceptions. He goes under center to start this 1st and goal set for them. Down 10-0 with 6:38 remaining in the first quarter. Hands it off to Jacobs, tries to bounce it outside, finds nowhere, fumbles the ball. It is recovered, definitely this time, by the Packers, number 85. Tucker Kraft falls on the ball, and it was a fumble by Josh Jacobs that, thankfully for the Packers, was by Kraft, was able to fall on that one because Zach Bond was right behind him.
Well, and it was weird, too, because Jacobs really wasn't touched on that play. He kind of got tripped up on the backs of one of his receivers blocking, and I think he just fell, and he wasn't touched, so he wasn't down, and the ball came out when his arm hit the ground.
At the 8-yard line, throwing to the far pylon, incomplete. It'll bring up 3rd and goal. Quinyon Mitchell on the coverage that time did not have pass interference. And it'll be 3rd and goal from the 9 after the fumble recovery for the Packers to try to put their first points on the board. Not an accurate throw at all. He had his man, the intended receiver, number 18, Malik Heath, on the play. And we'll see with 3rd and goal from the 8-yard line, a 10-play, 76-yard drive so far for the Packers, largely aided by that pass interference to give them this goal-to-go opportunity. Shotgun, dropping back with time, throwing over the top toward the faraway pylon, incomplete. Quinyon Mitchell, coverage twice in a row. Good coverage by Quinyon Mitchell, this time on number 80, Bo Melton, and a even shorter field goal attempt to try to take that goose egg off of the board for the Packers upcoming.
Well, and I think this is a situation where you miss Romeo Doubs. Just because, you kind of have been, calling him Mr. Consistency. When you don't have that consistent receiver that you're used to throwing to, especially closer to the end zone, you get, throws like that, maybe a little bit out of reach there, and you don't have quite the chemistry with. So, the Packers hopefully will make this field goal and, like you said, get that 0 off the scoreboard.
It is up, and it is good. Brandon McManus puts through the 28-yard field goal, 10-3. In what is the least eventful game of the wild card weekend so far, as we're about halfway through the 3rd quarter. Oh, you got to love this.
Good for us for picking this game. Good for us.
I mean, we all know why I picked this game. Also because we couldn't get the people together to do the Penn State Notre Dame game. Or not the Penn State Notre Dame game would have been a lot more entertaining.
At least in the 4th quarter.
But
that's kind of where it got turned on, was the 4th quarter, because the beginning of it felt like this one.
But Drew Allar is I've said all year he can't throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field. And this game finally showed that was true. Unfortunately for Penn State fans, that plenty live around me. And we have plenty of alums that go to that went to our camp that are broadcasters in the industry now that went to Penn State. I know a bunch of them were disappointed. John Gross being one of them from our Florida camp. He's a play-by-play announcer for ESPN Plus in the North Carolina region for colleges. If you ever watch any UNC, Duke women's sports, or not the basketball because they're usually on the mainstreams ESPN, he'll be on those. Mike, we never say his last name because no one can pronounce it correctly, even though I can, but I'm not going to, because he always gives himself names. Australia Mike when he was in Australia. What else? Mark Antonini. We're trying to remember where else he was. Dobbs update, being evaluated for concussion. With a Guardian cap on.
Yeah, that's an interesting point also. But it was weird because usually if people have a concussion, they're not helped off by two coaches like they would be for a leg injury, like you had said. So when they showed that replay.
He's had concussions in the past, thus why he wears the Guardian cap. So you wonder if he gets a concussion with the Guardian cap on and he needs help off. You wonder, and you never want to say this, you want him to have a successful long career in the NFL. You wonder how much longer he'll want to play in the NFL.
For sure, absolutely. Yep.
His head kind of got pushed between the two helmets of the Eagles defenders and then also hit off the ground when he went to the ground after the attempted catch.
Yeah, and I mean, I think kind of the poster player right now for kind of these concussions is Tua Tagovailoa. And again, he bounced back fairly well from the most recent one that he had a couple months ago. And, but again, it's just once it happens again, that's kind of when things kind of resurface.
So we're about to hit a kickoff here. 5:46 remaining in the third quarter, 10-3 Eagles. They need to get something going offensively. Not to necessarily win the game because the Packers haven't moved the ball at all, really. But to try to get some momentum back. This one is fielded at the near sideline. Brought up the near side by 34. Kenyon Barner used to be 34. Who's 34 now? I apologize on that. That's Isaiah Rodgers, the cornerback, heading up the near sideline. And the Eagles will start with okay field position just past the 25-yard line.
A former Duck, Kenyon Barner?
Yep, he used to be 34 on the Eagles, but I knew he wasn't on the team anymore. So 33-yard lines where they'll mark this one at 1st and 10. Saquon maybe will get going. We'll see what happens here as he's to the right side of Jalen Hurts on this play. He has the ball handed off. He's coming to the near side on the run, following his offensive lineman for 3 yards, and that's all. He'll get a great tackle. Coming around to make the tackle, number 56, Edrin Cooper, the linebacker, preventing that from being a big running play. For the Eagles, they'll set up 2nd and 6. They give them 4.
Based on how this game's going right now, defensively for the Packers, I think you just have to force Jalen Hurts to throw. Hurts is 6 of 13. He hasn't completed a pass since late in the first quarter. And so, you got to take it out of the best player's hands and try to put it into, a struggling Jalen Hurts.
Well, they give it back to the best player. That's Saquon Barkley up the middle for 2 yards. It'll set up 3rd and about 4 or 5. It hasn't been the offensive line. They've given Jalen plenty of time to throw on most plays except for when they're bringing 6 or 7 players on the blitz from Green Bay. Quickly to the line, in shotgun. Handoff, faked this time to Saquon. Jalen rolling to his left. We'll throw it wide open for the first time to Devontae Smith. Going to the 31-yard line and out of bounds. The biggest play for this offense since the first drive. And Devontae Smith, I said coming into the game, he was almost the all-time career receiving yard leader in the history of the Eagles. He needs 60 yards to do that. He got 30 on that play alone.
Well, and again, that was necessary for the passing offense here because it has been essentially non-existent for the better part of a quarter and a half. And again, you give it to, Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown still hasn't caught one since the first quarter as well.
Well, Devontae Smith gets one here on a screen pass on the near side. He goes 9 more yards, and it'll set up 2nd and short, and it'll give them all the opportunity in the world to do what they want to do on 2nd and short. Devontae Smith, 3 receptions, 47 yards, only on 3 targets so far. Sets up a 2nd and 1. Quickly to the line go the Eagles with 19 seconds on the play clock. 3:36 on the time clock for the third quarter. Jalen taking his time in the shotgun. Receives the snap quickly to Goddard. Caught. First down. Inside the red zone to the 15. Broke a man's tackle and broke a man's will all the way into the end zone. Dallas Goedert ran over a man twice on the way to the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles. The first points since the first drive of the game. Well, they got a field goal too, but the first touchdown. It was number 24, Valentine, got ran over, stiff-armed twice as Dallas Goedert manned his way with an angry run into the end zone.
Yeah, that was, Goddard, again, kind of talked about the relevance of Greg Calcaterra at times because of the Goddard injury. Kind of a nice unexpected play there by Goddard. Almost just tripped when he first caught the ball and ended up scoring and putting points on the board.
Oh, boy. And with that note, Jake Elliott missed an extra point. 16-3, 3:20 remaining in the third quarter. A Dallas Goedert angry run on the wrong side of it was the cornerback number 24, Carrington Valentine. Carrington got carried into the end zone there. And Dallas Goedert is one reception away from tying the all-time lead of postseason receptions in the Eagles history with former tight end Chad Lewis. And Devontae Smith needed 60 yards. He has 47. So he is 13 yards away from setting the all-time receiving yards record in a career for playoff games for the Philadelphia Eagles. That is a huge touchdown for the Eagles. Unfortunately, missed field goal, but they'll take it. 16-3 is the score with 3:20 remaining in the third quarter. Every time I say these things about Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert being like record setters for this team, I get a little sad as an Eagles fan remembering how bad we've been for so long. I know I'm not supposed to say we. That's the first time I've said we, I think, this whole entire broadcast, so I give myself an exception. But I tell the kids all the time when we have our virtual activities not to say we. So I have to tell myself I did it wrong there. Take some of my own advice.
Well, that would have been because we had talked about what game to do, and originally we were talking about one of the semifinals, and of course the Ducks lost because they didn't show up at all. So I have no problem saying they now after what I had to watch against Ohio State. So
I will say, heading into the season, many people picked Ohio State as the most talented team in college football. And they are proving right now that they are the most talented team in college football. So I'm not surprised. There was a thing today that if they win the national title, they would have beaten 6 of the 12 teams that were in the tournament.
Yeah, and I was kind of doing some looking and everything else, and obviously with the whole NIL thing and how it's relatively unregulated. I forget which. I think it was Desmond Howard, in fact, from the College Game Day crew on ESPN, had said that if they don't win the championship this year, that would be Ryan Day's biggest failure, because they essentially, with NIL, they were able to handpick the roster. And again, since there's no regulation on it, that's kind of one of the things that they've been, that's gone against them, I guess, for lack of a better term, that they spent all this money, so they better win it, basically.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a lot of schools you could say that about out there.
And Oregon's going to be challenging for that number 1 spot, probably.
This is a kickoff received on the 1-yard line, brought out to the 22. The kick return this time by number 25, Kayshawn Nixon, who had the fumble earlier in the game. Did a good job getting out there to the 25-yard line. And we head inside 3 minutes of the third quarter. Yeah, Oregon has to have all that Nike money, right? You think they'd get some of that NIL royalties heading up there in Eugene?
And I'm not sure Phil Knight has said it word for word, but there's been quotes that he's said where basically he wants to see a championship before he passes away.
He's getting kind of old, so they got to hurry it up. I do love your guys' head coach, and I wish him all the best. So it is 1st and 10 at the 22. Over the middle is caught. It's Josh Jacobs with a slant route out of the slot and a first down for about 20 yards. And that was one of the most effective passing plays that actually looked like it worked the whole time the Green Bay Packers have been playing today. Sets up the straight second first down of the drive. 2:55 coming off the clock. 16-3 Eagles. Third quarter, NFC wild card game. Been kind of uneventful, but the Eagles do get a touchdown on their last drive with Devontae Smith having a big part of it, but Dallas Goedert putting the exclamation point on it. at the 37-yard line. This time, Jacobs is the deep back. He runs it on the left-hand side, makes one man miss, two men miss. He's met in the backfield every single time today, and Josh Jacobs has had a heck of a game going 4 yards forward and setting up 2nd and 6.
Yeah, I mean, he still only has about 3 yards a carry, but he's been more effective running recently than he did starting the game.
15 carries for 46 yards, like you said, 3.1 a game, but it's just seeing where he's getting hit. The fact he's getting 3 yards a carry is impressive. He is a strong running back, Josh Jacobs, who is in the backfield to block this time for Jordan Love. Throwing over the middle this time, it's wide open. Jaden Reed into Eagles territory to the 45. He's hitting the shoulder by number 32, Reed Blankenship, and he's down. Already Romeo Dobbs out. Christian Watson isn't playing today, and now the number one offensive weapon on the outside for the Packers is down at the 45-yard line, an injury that Green Bay fans cannot want to see.
Yeah, there's been quite a few injuries on both, kind of in this game as a whole, by both teams and by pretty important people. Philadelphia's defense and we talked about the struggles that Green Bay has had filling that offensive line hole from Elgton Jenkins. That Benji said he was going to be out the rest of the game. So there's been a couple storylines due to injuries here, and that's going to hurt Green Bay's offense. Yeah,
he looks like he is in some serious pain, either shoulder area, collarbone maybe, but obviously we will not speculate. Benji will get on the report. I'm sure we'll have a minute get us to Jaden Reed, but it is a first down after that reception. He has 4 receptions on 45 yards so far at the 45-yard line of the Eagles. A 2-yard gain for Josh Jacobs up the middle. Not much there again. This defensive line has been pushing hard. It'll be 2nd and 8. 1:25 coming off the clock in the third quarter. Jacobs will come off the field. His backup, number 31, Emmanuel Wilson, will come in. 2nd and 7. 16-3 Eagles. The Packers, though, are in Eagles territory for the third time this afternoon. It is Wilson, the deep back, with Love under center, 2 wide receivers to the far side. Kraft also to that side in the slot. Play action fake, dropping back, looking over the middle. Now to the flat is incomplete. There was nothing down the field. Threw it to Wilson. It was in and out of his hands. Maybe better he dropped it. He'll run back to the sideline on 3rd and 7. 50 seconds.
I was thinking the same thing. Sorry about that. I was thinking the same thing. It's probably a good thing he dropped it because he would have taken quite a shot. Kind of a weird. You don't usually see the quick turn to the flat like that, especially after Love stepped up in the pocket.
Yeah, Love makes some decisions I don't quite understand, and that's just, I guess, part of his growth. But he is at the end of his second year as full-time starter. You think he'd be there? He's in the shotgun with Brooks to his left. He throws over the middle. It is caught, and it's complete. Dontavian Wicks with a first down, a huge first down on 3rd and long. He was absolutely smashed by C.J. Gardner-Johnson, is able to hold on to the ball and gain the first down in between 3 Eagles. There's the arm talent of Jordan Love, squeezing that ball into a small window and getting the chains to move for the first time inside the 45 on this drive for the Packers. 3 wide receivers. Sorry, they're right to the line. I apologize, Justin. I went long on that last call. Shotgun, quickly, back to Wicks, is in and out of his hands, incomplete. Upset with himself. He had that one. It would only gain about 4 yards, but he drops it with 7 seconds left in the third quarter.
Yeah, I was going to say on that last one, we've spent some time talking about the kind of the errant throws and obviously the 2 interceptions that Love had, but even that last one to Wicks and then the one where it was completed to Wicks, that was put right where it needed to be, and it was just on Wicks to complete the catch.
16-3 Eagles. 2nd and 10 for the Packers. The 32-yard line of the Eagles with 7 seconds left in the third quarter. Love getting the call in with 3 wide receivers, 2 to the far side, but it's a handoff to Josh Jacobs. He makes a man miss in the backfield and gains even more. Inside the 20, past the 10, running over another Eagle, pushing even further, falls toward the goal line. It'll depend on the spot, and they say touchdown. He has been pushing and running all day long. The biggest gain of the afternoon for Josh Jacobs is a huge touchdown to make it a 7-point game with an extra point to come.
I was going to mention earlier.
Down just prior to the line, so we'll see what the review says.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing the early replays. Often the knee goes down early, and looking at the replay now, it looked like he's going to be short. But it'll have to go to replay for that. But I was going to say, eventually the Packers are going to have to score a touchdown. If they're going to win the game, they got to score a touchdown. I know that a field goal would put it one possession with the 2-point conversion. I just feel like, especially momentum-wise, that the Packers need a touchdown, and a touchdown sooner rather than later would be the most ideal for their offense.
So they are going to mark them about a half-yard short. At the end of the third quarter, it's 16-3 Eagles, but the Packers are at the half-yard line after Josh Jacobs with a man run, an angry run, running over 4 different green jerseys on the way to the half-yard line. I called him Brandon Jacobs earlier in the game. Apropos, apparently there's something about that last name in the backfield where they just run hard. Josh Jacobs, now after that run, has 17 carries. Let me update my stats here for 80 yards. So that's a heck of a game against the Eagles. Run defense, just a war of attrition. And he's had a heck of a stellar game. On the other side of the game, Saquon has 15 yards for 15 carries for 74 yards, slightly more per carry. But overall, it has not been an offensive slugfest, obviously. Jalen Hurts, 9 for 16 for only 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. The second touchdown really didn't have anything to do with him. It was all Dallas Goedert with his own angry run. The Packers.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Benji was on it there. I've mentioned that Jalen Hurts hadn't completed a pass since the first quarter prior to that last drive of theirs. Jalen Hurts went 3 for 3, 2 to Devontae Smith, and then obviously that touchdown pass that Goddard had the man run to get in there and break a couple Valentine tackles. But, that's the good version of Jalen Hurts that we've seen at times. Just kind of in the middle of this particular game, we saw the struggling.
There is no more streaky quarterback, I would say, than Jalen Hurts in the NFL. We all talked about in the pregame how he had the greatest Super Bowl performance in the history of the Super Bowl outside of one fumble. Had the highest passer rating, was unbelievable. And since then, it's been up and down, up and down. But another up and down quarterback, Jordan Love. Today, 15 for 26 with 2 interceptions, a rating of 42.5. Jalen has a rating of 114.6. That, and I don't know, sometimes these ratings don't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense. He has not been that good today. But let's see how many Eagles he ran over. 1, 2. Here comes a third, kind of. Definitely a third there. A fourth there. I don't know if GJ is trying to just make him fumble. It didn't work. And then Quinyon Mitchell finally brings him down a half yard shy of the goal line. So it'll be 1st and goal from about a foot away. And you wonder if they run that Tucker Kraft play again. It looks like not. They're going to try to give Jordan Love is under center. And it's handed off to Josh Jacobs, who has another angry run, is met at the line, moves forward after bouncing off a tackle. It'll depend on the spot. They say touchdown again. He gets it. So it is a delayed touchdown after we thought he had one the first time. Josh Jacobs deserves it. A heck of a day so far by him. He was met in the backfield initially, bounced off the initial tackler, as he's done so often today, and found his way into the end zone to make it 16-9 with the extra point to come.
And based on the performance of these 2 kickers, nothing is inevitable from wherever distance they're at, whether it's an extra point or a field goal.
Well, this one is, according to my app, because it's slightly ahead of my broadcast, up and good. So 16-10, 14:56 remaining in this game in Philadelphia. We have a game because it's only 6 points. And we'll see what happens. Let's have a report from Benji real quick. He's got a report on Jayden Reed.
Jayden Reed is questionable now with the shoulder injury.
Questionable with a shoulder injury. We saw him holding on to his shoulder, either that or a clavicle, to be technical. But Benji, how are you feeling about the Eagles? What do you want to see from on this next drive? Like you said in our chat, Jalen was 3 for 3 on the last drive. What are you hoping to see from the Eagles here? Obviously, besides scores.
We need to score if it's Jake Elliott just making a field goal or the Eagles having a touchdown. I want to see AJ Brown get some targets, Devontae Smith get some targets. I think Jalen Hurts needs to get this ball, like a mixture of running the ball and throwing the ball.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, sir. We will see you in the post game. And he talked about AJ Brown there briefly. 2 targets on the day. I mean, they've only completed 9 passes all game, so it's not a surprise. And you see Jaden Reed now heading toward the locker room with his right arm hanging by his side, so it's definitely some sort of shoulder injury. The kickoff to come, and it is off toward the end zone. It is going to be fielded and knelt in the end zone. I think it's the first touchback we've had today.
I think you're right.
And the Eagles will get the ball out at the 35-yard line to start the drive. Or 25-yard line to start the drive. And see if the Eagles can put some momentum, some points back on the board. Up 6 after the missed field goal or missed extra point on the last drive after the Goddard touchdown. Jake Elliott was unable to convert. 14:56 on the clock. Jalen Hurts is in the shotgun with a Saquon Barkley to his left. A.J. Brown to this near side, hoping to get his third target of the day. Devontae Smith now moves this near side in motion. Jalen looking that direction. Now looking over the middle. Progressed through his reads well. It's Goddard, a back-to-back catch now after the touchdown. He gets the first reception of this first drive and a first down. 11 yards on a crossing route. Jalen Hurts did a good job that time of progressing through his reads and getting the ball to his tight end.
Well, and these catches haven't really been easy. That first one where he scored the touchdown was a little bit low. That last pass was a little more on target, but he kind of had to bobble it to bring it in. But again, 2 catches there for Goddard. You kind of brought up Goddard needed, I think, did he tie the record with that one?
He did, in fact, and this one, the next play is a shotgun ARP, and it's a option play where Hurts will keep the ball over the left-hand side for 5 yards, move it to 2nd and 5. So Dallas Goedert is now tied for the all-time receptions lead in the history of the Eagles playoffs, tied with Chad Lewis with 38. If he gets one more, he'll break that. We'll see what happens. Maybe another touchdown as Jalen sets up in the shotgun. All 3 of his passing options on that far side, Katera, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith on 2nd and 4. But it's a handoff to Saquon. Makes a man miss in the backfield, runs over a man to the first down marker right at midfield. It'll be a first down Eagles at the 50-yard line with 13:39 coming off the clock. 16-10. They have the lead at home. Saquon this season had 1,245 rushing yards in the second half of games, the most in the history of the NFL in the second half of games. That's what I was talking about in the first part of this game. It's a war of attrition with this Eagles offense. They're able to wear you down with the best running back performance maybe in the history of the NFL. And with 13:25 on the clock, there is a stoppage in play. The referee's talking something over, not exactly sure what, maybe a measurement of sorts. Oh, they called it 3rd and 1 after I thought it was a first down.
Oh, so they must have had a replay assist move the ball.
So they say Saquon was a half yard short. 3rd and 1. Jalen Hurts will be under center. Calcaterra or Dallas Goedert and Saquon will be behind him to push him. And we'll see if the brotherly shove will be executed here on 3rd and 1. The snap is given, and it's a bad snap, or it's a fake over the top. Throwing to A.J. Brown, incomplete. They faked the brotherly shove and tried to go over the top to A.J. Brown, only his 3rd target of the day, and it was incomplete. He was double covered, so the Packers didn't fall for it.
No, and it's one of those things you catch off guard, but I'd imagine if they did that on 3rd down and now that it failed, they would do the actual brotherly shove here on 4th.
100%. It's about a half a yard they'll need at the 50-yard line. The shove is successful as always. 2 yards forward goes Jalen Hurts, being shoved in the back by Dallas Goedert into Green Bay territory to the 48. So 13:25 In the fourth quarter, the brotherly shove gets him the first down. He almost always goes to that left side on the brotherly shove, and that's usually why Dallas Goedert is the one behind him to push him. When this play comes off, it'll be around 13 minutes remaining in this NFC wildcard matchup. 16-10 Eagles, just into Green Bay territory. Pistol formation. Handoff to Saquon to the far side. Following a row of blockers, but coming around and making a tackle was number 58 for Isaiah McDuffie, the linebacker for the Packers. Makes it second and about 7, 2nd and 6.
Yeah, really good play there. Again, if you can stifle the running game here, not let Barkley get the chunk plays we saw him get in the first half, that's going to keep the Packers defense in a good spot right now, especially now that it's gone down to one possession.
In motion is Saquon. We saw this play in the first half. He receives it on the near side, a little more room this time. Gains about 6 or about 5.5. He'll be 2 yards shy, falling out of bounds of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 2, but there is a flag on the play. Saquon believes it's on Green Bay.
Yeah, maybe after the play. I mean, Barkley fell a little bit well after he was out of bounds. Maybe
it is a personal foul call on Kayshawn Mixon, who already had one play that affected this game with a fumble. It shoves Barkley to the ground after he's out of bounds. I think Barkley probably would have fell anyway, so you wonder why he shoved him, because he had a Green Bay Packer underneath him when he tackled, but mental mistake there by Mixon. He made a physical mistake in the first half. This time he makes a mental mistake, and he'll get the Eagles a first down and 15 more yards. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 26-yard line. Saquon, number 26. In the backfield is the deep back. Motion is Smith from the near side of the far side. Handoff, wide open hole. Saquon trying to make a man miss. Great job by number 35. I must have the wrong number because there is no 35 on the Packers. But he did a great job of bringing Saquon down, because Saquon, if he made him miss, had a lot of room in front of him. Saquon will have to take a breather after that hit. It'll be 2nd and 4 for the Eagles. I wish I got the number right, because that was a great tackle by the Green Bay Packers linebacker.
Yeah, and this is the opportunity with Saquon out that the Packers need to force a field goal, especially now that they're this deep. It seems like every time the Packers score, the Eagles come down and score, so they're not able to actually gain any ground.
Pistol formation with Devontae Smith in motion this side. It's Kenny Gainwell bouncing to the outside. He's going to have a first down. Saquon goes out. Kenny Gainwell does what he does. Efficient backup, 5 yards forward, and a first down for the Birds.
Yeah, that's not what you wanted there as a Packer fan at all, with watching Gainwell do that. But that's what Gainwell's been doing all year. Very limited role because of Barkley's success, but does what he needs to do in that role.
Into the red zone they go at the 14-yard line. 1st and 10, 10:48 remaining on the clock. 16-10 Eagles. Fake handoff to Barkley. It's a design run for Jalen. He had a yard or two, but then he went backwards and only might have got a foot or two. There is a flag on the play. In this instance, you wonder if it's holding on the Eagles. It is. I didn't even see it, but sometimes by watching this much football, it's from Devontae Smith, who we talked about as a great blocker normally, but has that wrist injury, holds on to number 33 right here, and gets flagged for the hold. Jalen, that'll push him back 10 yards, 1st and 20 now for the Eagles outside of the red zone.
Yeah, not saying that wasn't a hold, but on the replay, I mean, maybe you just held on to him a little bit longer because he did end up releasing. But yeah, like you said, Hurts looked like he had some room there, but cut it to the outside. And that kind of is what made that a hold.
So it'll be 1st and 20 from the 24. So they can still get a first down at the 4-yard line. 16-10 Eagles. They have the ball threatening. 10:30 remaining in the game. Jalen's in the shotgun with Saquon to his left. A.J. Brown, the lone man on the near side, with Dallas Goedert in the slot as well. Saquon gets the snap with 1 on the play clock. Plenty of time to throw. Drops back. Hits Devontae Smith. He's at the 14, the original line of scrimmage. They'll be back to that after a 10-yard reception to Devontae Smith. And I believe that will put him over the mark. Devontae Smith, nope, he's still 3 yards shy. He'll have 57 yards after that reception. So he's still 3 or 4 yards shy of the record for the all-time leader in Eagles reception yards in playoff history.
Well, I was going to say, if he broke that, then maybe Goddard will get one.
Yeah.
But he's not there yet.
Hurts is dropping back, and there's going to be a hold on this play too. So this is going to be null and void. Jalen just needs to get down. He is tackled from behind after a 2 or 3 yard gain, but it's going to be a hold on the offense. It'll be 3rd and 22 after that was only an 8 yard gain for Devontae Smith.
Yeah, it looked like that was on Lane Johnson on the outside. I don't know if he lost his footing there because he only had one hand on him, I think, but it must have just been enough of the jersey there to warrant the flag.
Where his hand was, it was perfectly positioned for a normal block, but since he fell down, the defender came down with him, sets up 2nd and 22, 9:20, ticking off the clock in Philadelphia. 16-10 Eagles. They are in prime field goal to territory, at least you would hope, but you never know. Elliott already missed an extra point in this game. A touchdown obviously be more ideal. We'll be right around 9 minutes. Actually, they're going to call a timeout. The Eagles are going to waste their first timeout of the game, but it is a big 2nd and 22, 16-10 Eagles. 9:03 will be where the clock stops. And Jalen Hurts in this offense have not looked efficient all night. Even though it says Jalen's passer rating's 110.8, I'm giving him a solid C- grade so far, if you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah, the QBR thing is interesting, and they started using a 0 to 100, which seems to be a little more accurate, but when they use the one where a perfect score is like a 158.3, the numbers are kind of strange sometimes.
Yeah, I have to look at – I don't have the QBR on the stats in front of me, but 12 for 20 for 122 and 2 touchdowns. The 2 touchdowns is probably what's making his rating go up. The one he did the first touchdown, I would say, an offensive line touchdown. The amount of time they gave him and Jahan Dotson doing a great job on the scramble drill. Obviously, Jalen still has to make the throw. And the second was Dallas Goedert making an absolute man run on the outside. But he has a 2nd and 22 here to Jalen in the loss offense. 10 plays, 44 yards, 5 minutes have come off the clock on this drive. 6 minutes have come off the clock. In the shotgun, takes the snap, dropping back, looking to the far side, has his man underneath. It is Dallas Goedert. There's the record breaker, but I know he wants more of a touchdown. Inside the 20 to the 16-yard line. With 8:50 on the clock, will bring up 3rd and manageable at least.
Now Smith will get the record. They'll just do it on back-to-back plays. We thought it was going to be opposite last time.
Well, the Eagles have a 3rd and 13, so if the first down comes the way of Devontae Smith, it'll definitely give him the record because he is 6 yards shy of that record. Kenny Gainwell in the backfield next to Jalen Hurts on this play. 8:23 coming off the clock. Hurts receives the snap. It's an option run to the outside, but now he has to bring it back inside because he didn't see it there. He's going to break to the left, trying to get to the 10-yard line. Will not. Brought down by a host of Green Bay Packers. And Jalen gets up and is able to walk back to the sideline. That's the most important thing, but it'll bring up 4th down for the Eagles. And they'll have to try to kick a field goal.
I know the fake pitch might have not been part of it. It just might have been a reaction, but he did have some space there in the middle, but just he kind of bounced it back and couldn't really get anything on the outside.
4th and 8. It'll be an even 30-yard field goal from the near hash. He made a 31-yard field goal earlier, missed the extra point. This kick is up, and it's good. For the Eagles, that's thankful. For the Green Bay Packers, they were hoping he'd miss a second one. 19-10. It's a 2-score game. That's the most important part of that drive. The Eagles have the lead here halfway through the 4th quarter with almost exactly halfway, 7:33 remaining. Green Bay now gets the ball back with a chance to bring it back within 1 score and have a hope of going on to the next round. If they won this one, congratulations. They would get to go face the Detroit Lions, their arch rival in Detroit. But sometimes that division matchup is the most dangerous one for playoff teams. That's why I think the Eagles fans wouldn't really want to see Washington, but I don't think they'd want to see Tampa Bay either because Tampa Bay's had their number. But Tampa Bay I would watch out for. I think they're a big favorite tonight, but Mike Evans gets to face his old friend tonight. So we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see how effective he is. And they also don't have their other stud wide receiver who's been out for the whole entire year with an ankle injury. But yeah, we'll see how Mike Evans does tonight.
And I would say, I mean, again, I don't have all the statistics from them, but it seems like Marshawn Lattimore seems to get the better most of the time.
95% of the time. And part of it, I think, is mental. He is in Mike Evans' head 99% of the time. In the post game, we'll talk about that game coming up because obviously, if the Eagles play, if Tampa Bay wins, the Eagles will probably most likely play on Saturday next week. If the Eagles win, if Washington wins, the Eagles might be pushed to Sunday. It would probably be pushed to Sunday because they wouldn't want the Monday night game, tomorrow's night's game, team to play on the following Saturday. That would kind of be unfair.
Makes sense.
So Eagles fans, if they get the win here, will obviously be tuning in tonight to see what day they'll play at least. Because if Tampa Bay plays, they know for sure they're playing Tampa Bay. But if Washington wins, then it'll be whoever wins tomorrow night.
Yeah, we kind of highlighted they're showing on the broadcast now. They're showing that Zach Tom matchup, and how he made a couple of big mistakes there on the offensive line for the Packers in the first half. He's been pretty solid so far. I haven't noticed any mistakes from him. So maybe halftime adjustment.
Because he's not the right guard. We'll go with that. Because the right guard has been the problem. The left guard has been the problem for the Green Bay Packers so far today. So Jake Elliott is 2 for 2 on field goals. He did miss an extra point where this would be a 10-point game as opposed to the 9-point game it is right now. 19-10 Eagles. We're back to action. 7:33 remaining in the fourth quarter. And the kickoff is delivered as a low line drive and bouncing out of the back of the end zone. Nixon did not feel comfortable receiving that ball on the low line drive. And you wonder if this will be A.J. Brown's reading a book over on the sideline.
Yeah, I saw that. Like old school,
you wonder if this is going to be one of those games where, like, in the post game, AJ's like, they didn't throw me the ball. Like, I'm the second best offensive player on the team, and they didn't throw me the ball. I have him in my fantasy four ball team where there's 4 of us. I haven't got any points from A.J. Brown tonight. Maybe I'll get a touchdown later. We'll see what happens. 3 wide receivers, pistol formation, Kraft in motion, fake handoff. Jordan Love moves up in the pocket, gives it to Josh Jacobs on a throw. Josh Jacobs will have the first down, breaks back inside to try to get 4 more. He will do just that. And Josh Jacobs has been so effective tonight and kept the Green Bay Packers in this game. Him and Jaden Reed, who unfortunately is now out of the game for the Packers. But a 14-yard gain on first down on a quick outlet to who Josh Jacobs probably the safety valve on that play. They're quickly, sorry, I talked a little long on that one, Justin. I apologize. Shotgun again for Love. It's a handoff this time up the middle to the backup running back. This one is number 31. Emmanuel Wilson only goes for 2. 2nd and 8.
Yeah, I was going to mention after that, it looked like he wasn't really heavily limping, but kind of came up a little bit. And you just mentioned that Wilson was in now. And so he's trying to get it loose, whatever his issue is. It looked like a lower body, maybe a leg or an ankle, something on the sideline, just trying to get that going.
Still has his helmet on, nothing serious. They gave a few more runs or yards to Wilson at 2nd and 6 with 6:27 coming off the clock. 19-10 Eagles. The Packers trying to bring it within 1 score. They're at the 38, at their own 38-yard line on this play. Dropping back is Love in the flat to Kraft. Pushed out of bounds by Zach Bond. 2 yards shy of the first down. Will bring up 3rd and about 3. With 6:12 coming off the clock. He went out of bounds. How come the clock's still running? Like, I'm so confused by these rules. Is it only in the last 2 minutes the clock stops?
Yeah, the last 2 minutes of both halves, and they stop it temporarily, but temporarily is like for 2 seconds.
Okay.
And then they a referee winds it.
For some reason in Madden, I felt like every time it went out of bounds, they stopped the clock. And maybe that's a Madden thing. Who knows? All right. 3rd and 3 at the 41-yard line. Handoff up the middle. Nowhere to go at all this time for Wilson. And it's 4th and 3 with 5:36 down 2 scores. It's probably 4-down territory for the Packers.
Yeah, I was going to make a mention of that too. Right now you have the time working against you, knowing you need 2 possessions. So they're going to have to be pretty efficient here and be smart with timeouts.
Well, we saw how they did that in the first half.
Yeah, I guess not too
really
hurry
big
with
play
timeouts,
here. Really big play here. Sorry, I thought he was going to hike the ball, but instead they're setting up the play to make sure they have the right one on a huge play with 5 minutes remaining. 4th and 3 for the Packers. Shotgun for Love. Dropping back, looking to the near side. Has his man. It's complete, but were his feet in bounds? It's Heath with the reception, but I don't think his feet got down in bounds.
I don't
We
either.
will see what the call is. They had the right play drawn up. LaFleur, perfection. Love for once tonight, perfection. Heath, not good. His first foot lands out of bounds. It'll be Eagles ball, turnover on downs with 4:58 remaining in the fourth quarter. 19-10 Eagles, and that might have put the final nail in the coffin of the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers have only scored 1 touchdown all game. They're going to have severely less time and probably less timeouts depending on what happens here. So, Packers are certainly up against the wall now, and Philadelphia is going to take over. I think they're in their own they're in Packer territory already. If not, they're close to midfield. But yeah, that was big foot being on the line there for Heath.
Yeah, but it'd be at the Green Bay 41 with 4:58 remaining when we come back from a break. We might bring in Liam and Dylan to start the post game early, but we'll see what happens on this next drive for the Eagles.
Yeah, again, if this game was a little bit more back and forth and the offenses were a little bit playing a little bit more stout, maybe we would be a little less tempted to kind of write off the Packers' ability to come back. But yeah, and I mean, the injuries just keep mounting for the Packers offensively. Again, they lose an offensive lineman on the first drive of the game, their first drive of the game, and then they are down Dobbs and Jaden Reed, arguably their 2 best receivers.
I don't think there's any arguments about that.
Yeah, they got Wicks. Again, he's probably the 3rd. You're probably right. But, I'm not sure a Jordan Love and Dontavian Wicks pairing can carry this offense to 2 possessions, especially since there's going to be significantly less time on the clock.
Yeah, the Eagles at this point will probably give the ball to Saquon and try to run it out, see if they can get 1 first down here. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe 1 pass. But this was, like we said, Jordan Love has not been executing very well today. That one, he executed perfectly, and Heath just didn't know where he was, did not have the awareness. He was not happy with himself because they had the first down. They had a chance to stay in this game. But now with under 5 minutes, they're down 9 points. In football world, that's 2 scores. And the Eagles will come on in pistol formation. Big set. 3 tight ends in the game for the Eagles. And they'll hand it off to Saquon to the far side. He finds a hole to make enough room inside the 40 to the 35 and 5-yard gain. And the clock will continue to move unless Green Bay already called a timeout, or we have an injury timeout for Devonta Smith, who's kind of limp. Oh, nope, Green Bay did call a timeout. So the first timeout. Yep. With 4:52 remaining, if a first down happens, the Eagles might not even attempt to score another touchdown. This might just be a draining the clock situation. The Eagles did not play great today offensively. They might still escape with a win and move on to next week where they will have to regroup. They'll have another home game at the Link. Another loud crowd will be there in 6 or 7 days, depending on the outcomes of the other games. So we sit at 2nd and 5 with 4:53 on the clock. 19-10 Eagles with the ball on the Green Bay 36. Saquon in the pistol formation behind Jalen Hurts. It's A.J. Brown on the near side, but they run it to the far side, up the middle, nowhere to go. Green Bay does a good job of stopping Saquon on this one. And they just got a personal foul call because they pushed Saquon back, pushed him back, and then threw him to the ground and might have ended the game with that mental mistake.
Well, and we saw Nixon do that on the Eagles' previous drive to that as well. And when the whistles blow, you got to stop, and you're in a position now where, granted, it's probably unlikely, but you're certainly, it's not a 0% chance you can come back. But that's a brutal penalty, not only for the sake of getting the ball back, but now you're pushing it into field goal range.
And he's immediately sat down, Matt LaFleur talking to him, because you saw Matt LaFleur shake his head. He wasn't shaking his head at the fact the penalty was called. He was shaking his head at the fact that they did not have that was not a good choice.
Yeah, certainly not. And they're showing the replay now of him getting an earful from LaFleur. And another coach on the sideline also. I don't know if that's maybe a line coach or what, but yeah, it's unfortunate for the Packers that they burned 2 timeouts up to that point trying to get the ball back, and now they have one. The Eagles are going to have the opportunity to take off a lot more time.
Yeah, that if it wasn't, they would have still had a chance, like you said. But it's kind of, with that first down and only 1 timeout remaining, down 2 scores, this has not been Jalen Hurts' expert game, but they're going to get the win, and which is good because Jalen Hurts needed to get back into rhythm. He's been out for 3 weeks. He's been rusty. So you wonder. All right, so let's bring, when they come back, Liam and Dylan back on the screen. And
Looks like they're going to give – they look like they gave the Packers a timeout. I think they may have called one. Yeah, I think they may have called one on that penalty, but since it was a penalty, they gave it back to him. So they'll actually have 2 timeouts.
So I'll make this call, and then we'll see what happens. And assuming we're probably going to go to the post-game show with 4:47 remaining, Eagles up 9. They are in field goal range, but a field goal really doesn't do anything for you particularly right now because it was keeping a 2-score game. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Similar formation as before, this pistol formation where they hand it off. Saquon brought down at the line of scrimmage. And it'll be 2nd and 10. Second timeout by the Green Bay Packers. Liam, what kind of cost the Packers this game in the second half?
Yeah, they just showed the graphic. 7 penalties for 75 yards is just kind of the name of the game right there. Those 2 unnecessary roughness calls is not what you want to see if you're a coach. Those are just the mental lapses. And I understand football's a competitive sport and everyone wants to win a game. And when you're playing, sometimes the ins and outs of football might just go out and you just want to be aggressive. But I think in those type of scenarios, that's kind of what dug Green Bay's hole for them today. And again, that call in the beginning of the game, it's hard to come back from that and just give up 7 points right off the bat, not even 2 minutes within the game. And after that, I feel like Eagles been sailing. But if I'm a Philadelphia fan, I know there'll be complaints over Twitter saying, oh, it wasn't ugly. It was an ugly win. Are we concerned about the team going forward? It's the playoffs. It's survive and advance. It doesn't matter how you win. It's just if you win and you move on. That's my takeaway from both teams. Penalties for Green Bay and Philly. You dug out a gritty game, and now you get to host another game next week.
They run the ball up in the middle on 2nd and 10, make it about 3rd and 8. There is a Green Bay injury on the play. So the clock is still running. Green Bay not using their 3rd and final timeout. They'll save that to see if they can use it after the Eagles if they don't get this first down. But it looks like Walker, who was hobbled a little bit, is back up. He's the one that actually calls in the plays for their defense. So he'll be back up, calls the play. The Eagles quickly to the line to try to take advantage of Walker being hobbled. 3rd and 8. Shotgun. Handoff to Saquon toward Walker's side. Walker wasn't even involved on it. He couldn't make it that far, but they only get 3 or 4 yards. It'll be 4th and 3 for the Eagles. The offense seems to be staying on the field with 3:43 on the clock. Now Walker's definitely staying down.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he didn't even try to make the tackle on the play previous. He couldn't get over there. So it'll be 4th and 4 after the injury timeout. We'll see what happens. Jake Elliott is moving back to the kicking screen. So I don't know if he's going to kick or not. But we'll see what happens. Dylan, ankle injury for Walker. Twists his ankle on his own teammate. Dylan, if you were an Eagles fan, how are you feeling heading into this game, especially not knowing who you're going to play next week, depending on what happens tonight? How would you be feeling about Jalen Hurts and breaking off any rust? A.J. Brown not getting any run. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Philadelphia Sports Radio tomorrow will be a mess, as it always is. But, I tend to agree with Liam. And, it's a playoff game. Green Bay's a good team. I know they didn't exactly light it up today, but they went 11-6. They played in a really tough division. They're a good team, well-coached team. And, it looks like, all that matters is you win the game. It's not college football. We're not being judged by, style points. Sorry, just A.J. Brown and this whole book thing is really interesting. I'd love to know what he was reading.
Title of the book? No, I saw the title of the book. Inner Balance. The book that
interesting. I'm content with the win. You never take anything for granted in the playoffs. And surely you want to see better from the offense, but they did what they needed to do. And to me right now, it's week to week. I'm not worried about, too much as long as they keep advancing. So we'll see what happens.
Jake Elliott on the field on 4th and 4, timeout Eagles. So I guess they're going to talk over if they really do want to kick this field goal or not. But yeah, Inner Balance, the name of the book that he was reading. So if you want to go on Amazon and wonder if the sales of that book will skyrocket over the weekend. But not much has really occurred in this game, to be honest with you.
Justin did point out that this was quite the staff cast game to pick, but you know what? Sometimes that happens, and sometimes you got to figure out how to call a gritty 19-10 game.
I mean, that's true. There's nothing worse than calling tempo football games. There was a comment earlier by CT Sports 17-14 Eagles. He wasn't far off, to be honest with you. Because with this field goal to come, it is up and it is good. So at least Jake Elliott's 3 for 3 from field goal range today. 22-10. The Eagles are up 12. So all it does is prevent the Packers from being able to kick a quick field goal and then being able to go for a touchdown.
I'll say this, though. I don't think Jordan Love looked the part today. I don't know what was going on. I understand Jaden Reed going down and Romeo Doubs early on, and that kind of just diminished a lot of your offensive weapons. You have to work with Bo Melton and Malik Heath. But from a guy that had a great year last year and earned a contract extension that sent shockwaves through the NFL and kind of reset the value of what quarterbacks should be earning and playing like this. I know Philadelphia's defense has been ranked one in a lot of statistics, top half of the league, top 5 realistically. But just a lot of concerns, and Matt LaFleur did not look happy with half the throw, especially that last one to the sideline. That was just so behind Heath that he had to make an adjustment. His whole foot is out of bounds. In a crucial moment like that, it's a lot of concerning red flags.
Yeah, and I think we all kind of anointed him as the next great Packer quarterback. Obviously, Favre, Rodgers. I'm sure Stephen A. Smith and all of them tomorrow will be asking, did we do that too quickly? I still believe in Jordan Love. I think he showed more than enough the past 2 years, but you're judged by how you do in the biggest moments. And, we saw Justin Herbert yesterday lay an egg. Jordan Love at least has a playoff win, so that's better than Justin Herbert. But
and he only has 2 interceptions today to Herbert's 4. But
that is true. Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with Liam. I think it was a very disappointing performance. But I just think in general, the Eagles today, I think, was a character win. I think they kind of showed the team from 2 years ago, taking advantage of turnovers, converting when they needed to convert. It was a character win, I think, which is good to see as an Eagles fan, because we know last year that was just a disaster to end the year. So almost might be reassuring to see them win a gritty, I would say a not pretty game, but I think you should be happy as an Eagles fan that they figured it out and gutted it out.
With 3:10 on the clock, Jordan Love takes the snap, and he is met in the backfield on a shotgun by Nolan Smith Jr. coming up to get the sack. Didn't even have to take him to the ground. It'll set up second and extra long, and another Packer going to the ground. Number 71 for the Packers, their center, Josh Myers. This game
That's
is
not good.
Yeah, this game is not over, but it's pretty much over.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, then there would be half your offense is hurt.
There's
If
Jacob
Doom
Monk.
isn't over, then I think we'd be talking about one of the greatest moments in the 100-plus year history of the NFL. So can't rule anything out, but I would be quite shocked if this team managed to score more points than they have on the board right now in the next 3 minutes.
Well, at least we know why Jacob Monk was kept out of the game the whole time. They were making sure that if they needed a backup center, that he could come in. Like we were talking about earlier, he was the backup center and both guards on the 2-deep, and he didn't come in when the left guard got hurt or when they pulled the other guy that was the backup. I don't even remember what his name was. I know he just had 3 holding calls.
Travis Glover.
Yeah, he was bad.
And
the only reason
friendly fire, it seems like one lineman ran into the other, so that's always unfortunate.
It seems like 70% of the injuries in the NFL are friendly fire.
He also went right to grabbing the back of his knee too. Like right as he went down, he immediately went to grab his leg. So that's never a good sign either.
Liam, I will say, I know you're a Giants fan. I saw a stat today. If every one-score game this year was turned around, the Giants would have been NFC East champions. So maybe they'll switch or hit the flick or switch a flick.
Yeah.
Flick a switch. That's the word I was looking for.
Flip
Flick a switch. I was having a dyslexic moment there. Flick a switch. Next year they'll be able to get into
that's optimistic thinking. I think this team is going to win 3 games again next year, and it's going to time to reboot everything. I understand why you brought back Dable and Shane, but John Mara literally said that he did extensive research and no one wanted to come here. Don't blame them. You know why? Because it starts with all the way up above, and that's him calling the shots. I just face it. New York sports just in the gutter right now. So.
Oh yeah, because the Yankees didn't go to the World Series.
I'm not a Yankees or Mets fan.
I know.
I heard you say earlier I'm a Phillies fan. Why am I not rooting for the Eagles? It's weird, but
no, I get because you didn't really watch baseball till you came to college. I understand it, so you became a Phillies fan.
I don't know how many times I've had to explain that to somebody, but thank you, Zeke, for actually listening for that scenario.
Nope, I get you. I understand. So you're a football person, so you've always been a Giants fan. You're from
football and college basketball.
Who's your college basketball team?
Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So, I'll say this. First game I ever watched was 2013 Sweet 16, Trey Burke's 3 against Kansas. And I've rooted for Michigan ever since. So I'm not a bandwagon. I had to stick to the Juwan Howard years. I know that run in 2020 and 2021 was kind of a fluke, but I know Dylan's looking at me as a Wisconsin Badgers fan. Hey, I like Greg Gard. I like the team they've got. It's always good fundamental basketball. Blackwell's playing like a true point guard this year. So yeah, college basketball. I like college basketball more than football, honestly.
Yeah, we have no love lost with the Michigan Wolverines, if you remember a couple years ago. But we can have this conversation on entirely different, and we can go for hours. I'm down for that.
We do that a different time.
Sounds great. Can't wait to hear that. All right. What did I say? Inner Balance, Benji, I think was the name of that title. You asked in the thing what the book title was. Inner Balance. All right. So we have 2nd and 13, 22-10 Eagles, 2:51 coming off the clock.
It was
the 27-yard line. Inner Excellence?
Yeah.
Inner Excellence. Okay. So dropping back, Love is looking really deep, and he's throwing really deep, but there's probably a holding call. Coming back to make an incredible play on the ball is Heath. He's made 2 great jobs coming back on a ball, but this one's going to be nulled because it was holding.
They're going to have a holding call every time. I mean, these backups that come in, and that wasn't the direct backup to.
No, that was actually a starter.
So there's the one holding call they've called all game that is not on someone backing up somebody else.
Yeah, Sean Ryan, one of the few starting remaining offensive linemen that are still in the game for the Green Bay Packers. We'll make it 2nd and 23 with 2:37 remaining. They're down 12, would need an absolute miracle. But as a Philadelphia sports fan, you never know because stupid things have happened in the Philadelphia sports history. But then there was a terrible snap, somehow picked up by Jordan Love, thrown out to the flag to his running back, and there's another flag on the play.
Just end this game.
Yeah, I think one of the linemen was down the field. So it's another lineman penalty, I think.
Yep. Jordan Love did all he could on that play with a snap hitting the backup center snapped the ball off his own leg, and but it's the penalty declined, so Jordan Love will have a 3rd and 23. Facing him.
I think that penalty was on Glover again. He's back in because they have to, and I'm pretty sure it was him that was downfield. He's having a rough game.
Well, it'll be the last game he plays in a Green Bay Packer uniform, possibly. So we'll see what happens. But Jordan Love has 3rd and 23, 2:31 remaining, down 12 points here in the fourth quarter. Not nearly as eventful as the staff broadcast last year, where it was Dallas and Detroit, and Detroit had that non-reporting offensive lineman touchdown that I went bonkers on. One of the best calls in the history of sports, and then it got overturned, so it didn't matter. Shotgun for Love, dropping back, looking in the flat for his backup running back. Plenty of room on the near side. Out to the 40-yard line. That's a first down to the 45. Wilson makes up the 19 yards plus some and runs out of bounds to stop the clock momentarily for Green Bay. 2:15 on the clock after he runs out of bounds.
If Green Bay wins this, I'll buy someone a house.
Good. I'm looking for one. So I went to an open house yesterday. Nice. Not the house I'm looking for, because there was one thing about it that I wasn't a fan of. Most notably, a part of the floor that was felt a little unstable. Shotgun at the 44-yard line for Love. Has time to throw. Throws over the middle. It is complete to the 40-yard line. And another first down this time. It is Bo Melton. 2:05 coming off the clock, so they're not going to make it for a 2-minute warning. And it'll be right there, a 1st and 10 from the 40-yard line for the Green Bay Packers, down 12 with 2 minutes to go. And just that literally the highlights they're showing of the Green Bay Packers are 4 of their players being carted off on injuries. It was the highlight they just showed to go to break. They have been in all sorts of hurt today.
Brutal.
Seeing Josh Myers goes down, it's just the last thing you want to see as a coach. This is a game where it's basically out of reach, and now players that, like you said, Justin, it was a knee injury, and that could be 9 months, 12, a year recovery in a game like this, and in January. So that's looking basically out for the start of next season, and that just annoys you as a coach so much. In a scenario like this, it's like a regular season game. You're losing 40-0. Why are the starters still in? I know it's a playoff, and you can't control it, and you're still competing, and it's still a 2-score game, but it's definitely adding the insult to injury.
Yep.
Well, especially
good news of injury, for coaches. Kevin Stefanski found out that Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles again, so he'll be out even longer next year. That makes everybody happy.
Yeah, I don't know too many on the feel sorry for Deshaun Watson train.
Oh, Dylan, your NFL team, do you even watch NFL anymore because you're a Dolphins fan? I don't know did you watch?
No, I actually have it. Well, actually, I can argue I have it worse or not. I'm a Jaguars fan, so.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh.
I would say the Dolphins only have it worse because they haven't won a playoff game in 25 years, but the Jaguars don't have it much better.
Yeah, the Jaguars are looking for a coach because
Ben Johnson.
I don't know.
And for some reason they decided it was a good idea to keep the GM, but only if they hire a certain coach. And so they half fired the GM. So I would say the good news for both the Eagles and the Packers is that or at least for the Packers, since they're about to go out, is you're not the Jaguars. So they can at least take solace in that as they head back home.
I'll be very intrigued to see what happens to Doug E.P., a Super Bowl winning coach who left here on kind of odd terms because I just think he was tired of listening to Howie Roseman, but we can't really say he should have been because, Howie Roseman's obviously the best GM in football. And now he went to Jacksonville and it didn't work out with who was supposed to be a generational quarterback.
It was a great start, make the playoffs, beat the Chargers, great comeback, start 8-3 the next year. And it seems like when Trevor Lawrence got hurt on that Monday night game, not a single thing has gone right since then. So,
The Eagles have lost 3 games 4 times in their career. The previous 3, or in their history, the previous 3 they got to the Super Bowl. So we'll see, I guess, if that repeats if they hold on here. Jordan Love rolls to the right on this play, throws it deep. It's almost looks like a Hail Mary deep to the end zone. It's picked off in the end zone by Quinyon Mitchell. Bo Melton felt like he got interfered with. That almost looked like the interference play in the college football game the other day that Drew Aller's one interception got called back on. Oh, how do you feel about that celebration, Liam? That was a terrible pedigree.
I don't mind the celebrations anymore. Well, I'm watching right now. I'm so behind. Oh my gosh. This is the injuries that if someone gets hurt doing that celebration, that would be livid. That is a terrible pedigree. But the pedigree's all full right now and overused in WWE too, so it doesn't matter.
Well, who else does the pedigree besides? Who else does? Seth Rollins does it, right?
Sometimes who else did it that recently? I was like, why? Oh yeah, Seth did it on Raw against Punk on an announce table with a bad knee. I'm like, what are we doing? So, and that was awful. The Raw Netflix debut. I was the outlier in that take because it was more for like casual fans. And
because you're trying to attract casual fans back. It makes
that's fine. I just saw Travis Scott doing interesting stuff, illegal stuff on air, but whatever. They're gonna push the boundaries now. So
yeah.
Interesting.
Saquon Barkley's still in the game, surprisingly. Gets the handoff over the left-hand side after the interception for 4 yards. So I believe Dallas Goedert has broke the reception record for career receptions in Eagle in the playoffs. Devontae Smith still needs about 6 more yards. That's not going to happen in this game. How do you feel about that, Liam, that those two people who haven't been an Eagle very long and aren't that good have our reception records for receptions and yards? Is that sad or what?
No, I don't think it's sad. I think it just shows how much talent's getting better throughout the years. That's how I think of it. I look at it as a positive standpoint.
I view it as a lack of talent the Eagles have ever had. Saquon is off the left-hand side. He slid down. He had a touchdown easy. He could have went all the way. Saquon had wide open space with no one in front of him. Would have made it 28-10. And he just slid down and said, we'll just end this game instead. He could have went 75 yards to the house. Instead, falls down
wild card one.
After 20 yards. Saquon Barkley comes to Philadelphia, gets a playoff win. A kneel from Jalen Hurts. Respect from Saquon not scoring that touchdown.
Yeah, but that, after watching what Chase Brown did the other day against Denver and getting hurt on that slide, that I would have just been unbelievably painful ending. But thankfully, it was a normal slide, and that'll do it.
That'll do it. Eagles win 22-10. Thank you for joining us on the Student Sports Network. Maybe we'll do another one of these. I know the kids want to do another camper cast, so maybe we'll pull off a staff cast for, who knows, maybe we'll see what we're doing on Championship Sunday, and we'll do an AFC and NFC. One will do the one will do the other. We'll see what happens. Benji, let's bring you back on real quick just to see if you have anything you want to say. What do you want to say, Benji?
Go Eagles.
All right. No, you said it wrong. Those are the wrong 2 words, Benji. What are the 2 words, Benji?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
That's 3 words, Benji. 2 words, Benji.
What is it?
Go Birds. Get it right, Benji. Get out of here. All right, guys. Thanks, Liam. Thank you, Dylan Goldman. I know Liam has to run for the late game today. Dylan, I really appreciate you coming on, being a wonderful host. You're great. You're wonderful. Enjoy your trip back to cold, snowy Wisconsin in a few days. Justin Louder, thank you so much for being on here with again. Like I said, maybe we'll do this again for maybe Championship Sunday. We'll try to do 2 casts, one for the kids, one for us, because I have fun doing it.
Definitely fun. Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot, Zeke.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. Take care for those watching.